So hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto was half Uchiha and loved Hinata. If you guys enjoy this, what if? Comment down below. And let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content. And leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And also share this video with your friends. And check out the description. And check out my playlist. So let's start the video. Chapter 1. Hyuga Hinata was known as a shy, well-mannered, very disciplined and diligent teacher by her students. Yet this diligent teacher didn't feel so diligent when she was laying on her side, under her thin comfortable blanket in the early morning in the middle of the summer. She planned to lie down and do nothing at least for the next 10 minutes. Morning sun, finished marked papers, weekend, such a blissful life. She almost fell asleep soon only to be awoken by a persistent ringing bell of her door. She frowned when she remembered that she didn't make any plans with either her family or friends, yet the ringing didn't stop, which meant it was important. Hinata, the ever-so-polite woman, didn't even curse the person behind the door and went to the door hurriedly. Her mind went to a big whirl of bad possibilities she might have had at that moment. "Wait, please." She started from the hall as she was tightening the tie of her lavender satin robe. Wait," she said again while unlocking the door. The odd thing was there was no response from the person behind the door or any presence when she saw through the peeping hole. The door swung open toward the apartment's hall. She mumbled slowly when her door was stuck. She couldn't open it as wide as she usually does. She pushed further and there was indeed something blocking the door. Hinata walked and looked behind the door and she gasped. She looked around and found no one in the hallway. "It's impossible," she murmured and squatted down. "What are you doing here, little one?" she cooed. In front of her was an ordinary medium-sized light brown basket, but it was the content that drew Hinata's attention. It was a pretty black-haired baby with pinkish cheeks and lips, covered by a dark blue blanket and a fluffy pillow, with the same color propped under his head. The baby smiled brightly to her when Hinata touched its plump cheeks. "Who are you, little angel?" She looked around once again and found no one. "Someone must have left you here, huh?" she said again in a higher and softer voice. The baby swung its fist energetically and Hinata was entranced by the baby's dark charcoal eyes. "Where is your mommy? Daddy?" The baby blinked and grumbled indecisively. "I wondered where they were." Hinata scooted closer to the basket and found a small folded paper placed next to the baby, confined between the baby and the basket. "He is your son. His name is Naruto. I have enough with Uchiha. Goodbye." "Oh, no." Hinata whispered sadly, her heart dropped, her body went rigid when she grasped the fact. "So, you are Naruto-kun, he mumbled as if he answered Hinata's question. "Such a pretty boy, but we have a big problem, Naruto-kun." The baby was left by his mother, Hinata was sure after looking at the delicate writing and curve of the letters, all thanks to years teaching and reading her students' handwriting, and the mother obviously left the little boy at the wrong address. She wasn't an Uchiha, and she undoubtedly wasn't a he. That meant Naruto-kun was alone, abandoned, his mother left him and his father didn't even know his existence, and had to rely on Hinata now, yet the baby was still smiling brightly. Seeing no other option, she decided to take Naruto in and was going to make several decisions regarding this little guy. "Don't worry, little one, we will find your parents. I promise you that." There was no way she would leave the baby suffer alone, her upbringing wouldn't allow that, her profession wouldn't either. She closed the door with an ease and a bright smile, being positive that everything would be okay. "Naruto is a smart boy, isn't he?" Hinata said happily while putting aside the worn clothes. She had just bathed the little soldier and he was ready to take his meal. Hinata nudged the feeding bottle she found beneath the thick pillow Naruto had earlier. Fortunately his mother was thoughtful enough to put several clean clothes and stuff Naruto would need in such short notice. Naruto took the nipple and refused to have it after a short sip. "Come on darling, it's your time to drink now." He kept refusing and started to cry. Hinata scooped Naruto into her arm and swayed her arms a little. "I know it's not like your mommy, but it will help your tummy, okay?" she whispered softly to the baby and after a while, Naruto seemed to accept whatever he had at that moment and started to suck the milk quickly. "That's a good boy," Hinata announced proudly when Naruto finished his milk in less than 5 minutes. "It's time to sleep, huh?" She patted his back gently to help him to burp and put him back to his bed, a stack of thick towels which Hinata used as a makeshift bed for the baby. She made a mental note to buy several things for the new member in her home. "That will wait. We will be okay for tonight." She mumbled sleepily and laid down next to the baby, following him to the La La Land. Hinata enjoyed her weekend more after that, her little guest kept her entertained and very lovely. Naruto would laugh whenever Hinata played with him, he would return Hinata's playful nudge on his small fist automatically and mumbled his abstract words to answer her questions. He was an angel. On the next Monday, reality slapped her face hard. Naruto was not hers and she had no right to take him in, despite being so eager to do so. Haruto's mother wished Haruto to live a safe and happy life with his father, not a stranger like Hinata. She had to help Haruto to meet his father, someone named Uchiha. She didn't know who an Uchiha was, and that would be a long way to find him. Hinata glanced at the big round white watch on her wall. It was almost time to go to school. She could neglect neither her work nor Haruto. Finally she got up from her small blue sofa and dialed a familiar number. "Hinata-chan, where are you? Are you okay?" A soft voice said immediately after picking up her call. I'm okay, Kurenai-sensei." She glanced at Haruto who was playing with a small black raven plush doll, which he insisted on having so much when Hinata brought him to the baby shop yesterday and didn't let the toy go if he could help it. "That's good, I will see you at the school," she said. Actually, can you tell Headmaster Tsunade that I will take the first period off today? I have something important to do." "Sure, no problem, but can you tell me what happens? Are you sick? Do you need me to accompany you?" No. I'm fine, really. I just need to go to the police station first before going to school." "Now I definitely need your explanation here, what happened? Did someone barge into your room? An accident? Or? Don't tell me that jerk comes back to stalk you. If he is, I will make sure to hurt him in the most painful place and guarantee that he will regret it for the rest of his life," her coworker said menacingly. "And no. It's not about him, Kurenai-sensei. Hinata-chan." She sighed. 2 months ago a creepy man was following Hinata around and terrorized her apartment. It needed Kurenai-sensei's threats, the security warning and even Kiba's involvement to make him stop. Fortunately she didn't have to meet the stalker anymore after that. "It's not him, it's something else. I will tell you later after I meet Kiba-kun," Hinata promised. Seeing no other choice she answered, "Alright, just be careful, okay? I will tell Tsunade-san, she will understand." "Okay. Thank you, Kurenai-sensei." She sighed deeply. How many times should I tell you to call me Kurenai, Hinata-chan? I will take your class then, since I have no class for the first period." "Thank you very much, Kurenai-sensei, Kurenai-san." Her coworker laughed lightly. "Alright, I will wait for you then. Be careful, okay?" "Surely." They said goodbye and Hinata went to Haruto. "Ready to go on an adventure, Haruto-kun?" The baby giggled as Hinata scooped him into her arms. Kiba yawned and walked sluggishly to the main hall. His partner told him that a pretty woman was looking for him. He had to beat his own partner to stop his teasing. Usually he wouldn't mind the teasing, but after a long night chasing a stupid robber and had to make a long report about damages at several shops and public instruments. Not to mention a long apology letter for the public relations department to blame. It was really a pain in the ass. Yet his lethargy disappeared when he saw his childhood friend at the big hall. "Hinata." He grinned happily and ran toward her. "Kiba-kun." She replied and smiled at him. "Are you okay, Kiba-kun? You look pale." She asked after she saw his face. "Hinata, the angel." Never mind it. I just had a long night, not a big deal." He answered honestly. "You should take care of yourself well, Kiba-kun." "Yeah, but we hardly get a chance and I can either crash at the station's quarter or go home for a while, but well." He shrugged. "What's the matter?" He asked quickly as he saw Hinata was carrying a small bundle in her arms, a bundle which was wriggling and creating a funny voice. He walked closer to her and took a peek. There was a small baby with a thick blanket wrapped around him. The baby had clear skin and black eyes and hair. "I have never seen this baby before, who is it?" "Niji's friend's baby. The man with those silly green spandex jumpsuits." Hinata giggled at how Kiba described Niji's friend Rock Lee. "No, it's not Lee-sen's baby. Haruto is the reason why I came to see you, Kiba-kun." The dark-skinned man arched an eyebrow. "Haruto? This baby? After a stalker, now a baby, huh? You're one busy girl, Hina." "Well, I can't help it. His mother left Haruto in front of my door 2 days ago. He has no one to lean on and I can't and won't leave him alone. She left a memo telling that his father's name is Uchiha. Can you help me to find his parents?" "Uchiha? Do you know which one?" "I have lived here barely a year, Kiba-kun. Except for my cousin and his friends, you and Kurenai-sensei, I practically have no friends here." Kiba groaned. "You are plainly right. You don't know about Uchiha, do you?" He put his hands into his jacket's pocket. Hinata shook her head softly. Hinata naturally didn't know since she spent almost all of her life in their hometown and decided to move to a big city permanently after gaining her certificate for teaching. The Uchiha are a big family who work in the shadows. They rarely show themselves and prefer to pull the strings from behind the scenes. There are lots of them, you can say that they are a big clan. With those conditions it would be difficult and take more time than usual. I understand." Hinata bit her lower lip. What if Haruto-kun is not an Uchiha? That is possible, isn't it?" She added quickly. Well, I met one or two Uchiha years ago, and they had the same traits with this baby, despite this one being cuter, so I can say that this baby is one of them. He cocked his head to the baby. I see. Hinata said softly, but Kiba could hear a hint of disappointment in her voice. Ma. Don't worry too much, I will do anything I can to find his parents. That put a smile on Hinata's face. Yes, that would be great. Haruto's mother must be worried sick about her son's well-being. The brown-haired man grimaced, doubted. If she was worried, she wouldn't have dumped her son from the start. Hinata cringed, yes, you are right. Here, give me the baby. The tall detective stretched out his hands to take the baby. Don't worry, I will make sure he will be fine and well fed. He added when he saw Hinata tighten her embrace. Hinata shook her head, Kiba-kun. Hinata, you know the rules right. The unattended child will be sent to the institution till we find the parents. Hinata nodded, but she didn't move any limbs. Yes, but Kiba-kun. She was pleading to her friend with her big doe eyes. Both Kiba and Hinata knew that the man couldn't say no to her request. Taking care of a baby is a big job, Hina. I know we have been together since Saturday. You have to fill documents and it won't be easy. I will survive. Hinata said with determination. Kiba scratched and tugged his hair in frustration. Hinata, this is not a joke. You are going to work and take care of this baby at the same time. You are going to divide your attention to your work, the baby and your own life. It will be very tiring. He tried to explain again. I will manage, Kiba-kun. Hinata smiled solemnly at her friend. Being with her for years he had learned that Hinata could be very stubborn and you couldn't change her after she decided something. Kiba threw his hands up as a defeat, fine. However, I will not help you to take care of the baby, though. With that Hinata beamed with happiness. Oh. Thank you, Kiba-kun. You will regret it. He warned her. No way. And if I ever heard you regretting it, I will proudly tell you I told you so. Hinata giggled. 1 hour later Hinata stepped out of the station with a bright smile. At least she could have Haruto until he found his parents. She was selfish, she knew it, but she couldn't leave him alone, Haruto needed her. Do you need a lift? Hinata shook her head, I will be okay, it's not that far. She straightened her big sling bag filled with both her papers and Haruto's supply. You okay? Yeah, fantastic. Kiba rolled his eyes, he could see beads of sweat formed at her temple, but she was just too stubborn. Don't say that I don't warn you. He repeated. Okay. She giggled again, bye, Kiba-kun. You should take your rest now. And don't expect me to help you with his diapers even if you beg. He shouted to her which replied with a wave. She wouldn't regret anything. Haruto was too precious. 4 days later Hinata started to feel the side effects, having long sleepless nights, making and grading papers was very exhausting. You okay, Hinata-chan? Kurenai's voice seemed so far away. Hinata rubbed her eyes sleepily, yes, Kurenai-sensei. Just sleepy. She suppressed her yawn. Alright, just go to sleep. You can drop Haruto-kun at my house tomorrow. But. I can't impose you more than this. She had left Haruto to Sarutobi's household for the past 2 days. Nonsense, Asuma loves Haruto so much and he has nothing to do after finishing his new book anyway. Kurenai assured. Besides, he is a bit lonely since Mirai enters elementary school. She said wistfully. Hinata played the hem of her lavender skirt nervously, okay. Perhaps it was for the best, Haruto wouldn't be lonely, too. She put her phone back to the low table in front of her. Haruto was sleeping next to Hinata. Truthfully, the intention to let Haruto go had occurred to her once, but she had shaken it away quickly, she mustn't, Haruto needed her. She stared at the sleeping baby and his new bed Hinata bought for him on Monday, and then concluded that her apartment changed into a family-like apartment, empty bottles, tins of milk powder on the kitchen counter, pile of both unused and used disposable diapers behind the sofa, and next to the trash can, was unusual view, at least for Hinata. Everything will be okay. I'm sure. She thought. Or as okay as it should be if only there was no loud music from next door. She didn't know who her neighbor was since they had never met, Hinata always thought that it was empty. However, 2 days ago the owner decided to go home and to enjoy their life by turning on the music player to its max, from evening till dawn. It was always from a specific rock band with their heavy banging bass and electric guitar, from one track to another one. Endlessly. That was the reason why Haruto was in a bad mood and fussy recently. A cute small frown was formed at the baby's face, yet it wasn't good news. Oh, no. Oh, no. Suddenly she heard a loud thud from next door and a muffled scream, or was it screeching? Of a woman. That startled Haruto and he cried. Hinata had never felt so peeved and wanted to curse as she had at that moment. Just what they did there. She picked Haruto up and went out of her apartment. She would like to leave Haruto at the apartment, but it didn't sit well for her. Hinata pressed the doorbell 2 times, then 4. There was no response, of course, given the loud and disturbing music, and Hinata had anticipated it. She even wondered why nobody filed a complaint. Naruto grumbled and moved against her hug, so Hinata straightened him and put his head on her shoulder, one hand propped on his bottom and one patting his back softly while punching the doorbell impatiently. Just before she stretched her hand to push the bell again, the door was opened quickly. "Damn it, Naruto. Can't you turn off that damn music?" A man with black shirt cursed someone behind him without looking at Hinata. "I'm sorry about the noise. I will talk to them." Hinata could only stand stiffly with her jaw dropped, gaped at the man. His hair was as dark as the night with the identical colored eyes and a perfect shaped nose with just as perfect shaped lips. It was the dark hair and eyes that caught Hinata's attention. The remarkable features which she had accustomed and adored from a small little baby in her arms. "What's wrong?" A bare-chested blonde man with tanned skin appeared behind the quiet man. "Naruto. I tell you to put on your shirt, you idiot." A high-pitched voice from a beautiful lady with short pink hair appeared soon after that. Unfortunately, Naruto picked up that right moment to wriggle and whine. Hinata had no other choice than to carry him laying on her arms. "Holy shit. I don't know you have a kid, moreover you don't tell me, team." The blonde said soon after he saw Naruto. He even pushed himself out of the room to look at the baby better, didn't even bother to put on a shirt or to mind that he was outside so that everyone could see him half naked or that Hinata was a bit uncomfortable with his condition. "Sasuke-kun." The pink-haired lad said softly with uncertainty next to him. "You are an Uchiha, aren't you?" Hinata asked firmly. Now she was sure Naruto could get his good sleep back and perhaps his father, too. Chapter 2. The first thing Sasuke saw when he opened the door was a pair of pale lavender eyes, long lashes, a small cute nose and pink lips that came from a tiny woman in front of his door. It was the first time he saw such fair skin and silky long hair that he had to ask the woman to repeat her question. "You are an Uchiha, aren't you?" She said again, and he saw a baby in her arms after that. The baby with dark hair and charcoal eyes which he felt familiar with. He heard his stupid best friend yell how shocked he was that Sasuke had an unknown son. Sakura was standing silently and didn't say anything. "Chen. And you are?" Sasuke asked the woman flatly. "Your neighbor. My name is Hyuga Hinata and this is." She raised her arms and showed the baby to Sasuke. "Uchiha Naruto-kun, your son." "What? As I thought. He is your son, team." Sasuke heard Naruto exclaim loudly, which irritated the fairer-skinned man's ears and mind. "I'm sorry to disappoint you, but he is not mine." Sasuke replied against Naruto's protest. "So leave and I will make sure that they will not disturb you anymore." He dragged Naruto back to his apartment much to Naruto's chagrin. "But." The woman, Hyuga Hinata, stuttered. "Sasuke-kun." Sakura said firmly. She looked at him with displeasure. The raven-haired man just shrugged. "What? You should listen to her first." Sakura nudged his shoulder softly. Sasuke placed his eyes back on the beautiful stranger. "I believe we have to talk." Hyuga Hinata said again, she said sternly and her eyes filled with determination, but Sasuke knew better, he could see the small trembles on her pinkish lips, she clearly was nervous or afraid or both. "Fine. We will talk. Although I have to warn you, this is not mine, so the talk will be ineffective and fruitless." The word made Hinata frown, but she kept her silence. "Smart girl." Sasuke followed Naruto and Sakura to the apartment, he left the petite woman outside and he believed she would enter without his invitation, she was the one who insisted on talking, right? In the living room, Sakura was shoving worn-out jeans, an orange shirt and any other form of clothes to Naruto. The dark-skinned man was whining and protesting loudly that Sasuke wondered how could the baby sleep so soundly. He glanced at the soft human pillow the baby was laying on and he knew why. Sasuke himself too would sleep soundly on those incredible mounds. The raven-haired man scoffed when he realized where his mind was trailing off to, probably being alone for too long. "We will go now." Sakura said apologetically, "I'm sorry about being so loud lately. Naruto is a dork sometimes." Which Naruto replied with a louder "Sakura-chan. You should talk. I'm sure Sasuke will behave, right Sasuke-kun?" The said man rolled his eyes and beckoned them to go away. They disappeared behind the door with a soft click. The man in the room sighed and started to clean his messy room. He brushed the breadcrumbs, cookie crumbs and anything he found off of his sofa. Hinata stood awkwardly in the middle of the living room which mirrored her own. She imagined that the room would be very dirty and messy, given how uproar and noisy the room was for days, she even imagined that her neighbor was having some dark orgy at that time, but she was proven wrong. Except for the crumbs and empty packs of foods and beverages in the living room, the apartment was very clean and organized, which made her feel ashamed for judging him unfairly and more ashamed after thinking back how messy her room was. "You may have a seat," Sasuke said after dumping all of the trash to the trash can. "No, I'm okay like this." She refused. She didn't know what they had done on it, and dirt was the biggest enemy for a baby. Sasuke shrugged, if you said so. He flopped down on a single sofa and waited. So let's get to the point, Uchiha-san, because Haruto-kun needs his sleep. Haruto-kun is your son. Nope. He said confidently. Hinata wanted to protest, but the man cut her words, because I don't remember screwing with you, if I ever had I would have certainly remembered it very clearly. Hinata blushed again, but she shook her head and stuttered, of course you don't because I'm not his mother. She ended her sentence hugging the baby more protectively. That got Sasuke's attention, elaborate. Hinata inhaled to calm herself, it seems like Haruto-kun's mom got the wrong door. At first I thought she was merely putting Haruto-kun at any door to let the owner find Haruto-kun's father for him. Such a loving mother. Sasuke commented dryly, but Hinata continued, I don't know who the father is. Even though you say I am his father. Sasuke said it as a question, not a statement. It's a coincidence actually, I was surprised to find you too. Just now I was going to ask you to tune down the music or at least not be so loud, but then I found you. Haruto-kun resembles you in many ways, then I came to the conclusion, she made a mistake. She put Haruto-kun at my door, next to yours. It was supposed to be yours, but she mistook it and put him at my door. Hinata explained. You are convincing but unfortunately I am not his father. It can be anyone. Hinata sighed, yeah, but you have the same traits as Haruto-kun. Fortunately, there are tons of people with black hair and eyes. It's nothing special or shocking. He shrugged. But you have the same aura and the proportionate smile and also perfect brows. Hinata insisted. I'll take it as a compliment. Was all Sasuke said with a smug smile which surprisingly fit him very well. Hinata rolled her eyes in frustration. Besides, his mother left a note saying that Haruto-kun's dad is an Uchiha. I saw the exact nameplate next to your door just now. Note. He raised an eyebrow, the perfect eyebrow which Hinata mentioned just now. Yes, she left a note which also said that she had enough with Uchiha. She said as if she agreed and wrote it herself. Sasuke rubbed his chin thoughtfully and hummed, you ought to show me. Hina stepped back a little, clearly taken aback by his words. Well. You tell me, no, accuse me that I am the father and have the proof. I have every single damn right to defend myself, too. You're right, but. Hinata said softly, but Sasuke could read her mind perfectly. Calm down, kitten. I won't bite, at least not now. He smiled smugly. Hinata clearly didn't believe his words. Sasuke sighed, alright, what about this? We will go to your apartment next door and you can show me the note. I won't even step past the threshold. Tomorrow, perhaps. She said, under the bright sunlight, far from the darkness because the tall Uchiha looked so intimidating at night as the shadows moved together with him and Hinata afraid that they would jump on her or Haruto and drag them to the sinful darkness. Sasuke stood from his chair, look, I am trying to solve this problem for you. When you are sure that I'm not his father then you can go on to find the real one. He cocked his head to the baby. Besides, the small boy has fallen asleep and it's better to let him sleep on his bed, it's more comfortable and you look tired yourself. Seeing Sasuke's points Hinata sighed and nodded, alright. Perhaps, it's for the best. True to his words, Sasuke was standing next to the open door of Hinata's apartment. The said young woman was putting the small baby to sleep, then looking for the note he wanted to see. Sasuke played the doorknob and had some thoughts. He knew he was being an insensitive and rude jerk, but he couldn't help it. It was the first time he met a woman who didn't seek out his attention, well, Hyuga Hinata did, but in a completely different way than the other women usually do. She wasn't trying to flirt, to catch his attention sexually or ogling at him openly like other women. Hyuga Hinata was looking at him with calculated gaze, evaluating whether he was suitable enough to have the baby, whether his environment was proper to raise a baby, and that piqued Sasuke's mind. That was the reason why he teased the young perhaps virgin woman like some uneducated and uncivilized caveman. Hyuga Hinata did blushed furiously in front of him, but that was not because of her being interested in him, but rather the embarrassment of Sasuke's comments. Here. Hinata gave a small folded card to Sasuke. He took the paper and read it quickly. He is not mine. He said and gave the paper back to Hinata. What? Hinata asked in frustration and disbelief. He is not mine. You are accusing the wrong Uchiha. He said stoically. How can you be so sure? Hinata asked with a small frown, she undoubtedly didn't believe in him. Because. I am far too busy to care and to fuss around my needs these years and believe me my only relief comes from my hand. Do you understand me, princess? He placed one hand on the door and another one at the doorframe, trapping Hinata between his hands and smirked handsomely, which was not good for Hinata's heart. Hina's face couldn't get any redder than this, yet she nodded despite her embarrassment. Sasu nodded confidently, glad you understand. He walked back to his room but stopped to say, besides, I always use protection whenever I do it. Don't want to have this kind of situation if I can help it. He grabbed the doorknob of his own apartment which is identical to Hinata's, but I think I will give you an exception, sweetheart. He chuckled and was answered by a loud thud from next door. He definitely had contaminated the poor girl. As he thought, he couldn't help it. She was just too innocent. The next morning was quiet as usual. Hinata put her belongings on the floor and locked the door with Haruto in her arms. Her meeting with Haruto's supposed to be father was a disaster and she really hoped they could do something about Haruto's situation without seeing each other so much. The little baby was swinging his black plush doll and mumbling back to Hinata happily. Hinata giggled at him, her lavender eyes were twinkling with love. Did you have a nice sleep last night? Hinata heard a deep familiar voice from behind. Today he was wearing a dark shirt with dark blue jeans and black boots to complement his appearance. Uchiha-san. Hinata greeted him politely. The soft-spoken woman was wearing thin long light purple cardigan and a plain white shirt under the cardigan, her dress fell a centimeter below her knee in comfortable shoes. They were not luxurious jewelry or splendid accessories, but she caught Sasuke's attention more than any woman ever had. Especially her radiant face, natural pinkish cheek and lips, the color seemed to have some liking to her and refused to disappear from her lovely face. Hyuga. He glanced at the small boy and his pink rabbit outwear, the fluffy rabbit ears protruding and swaying as he moved. You have a unique color taste for his clothes. I'm sure in the future he will be very impressed by what he wears today. He snickered. Hinata ignored hints of sarcasm in his words and took her belongings. I have no choice. My colleague who has a daughter is nice enough to hand down her daughter's clothes. Beggar can't be chooser, you know. Also, a baby grows quickly so he won't wear it for long. She turned to face her neighbor. Do you think Haruto-kun's father will be nice enough to buy him some proper clothes or just let him wear whatever I found for him? Sasuke raised his brows in awe. This kitten surely can bite, he smirked. Sasuke followed into the elevator. Hinata took and leaned on the wall in ease. Where are you going? He asked. Someplace. She answered without looking at Sasuke, and unlike his guardian, Haruto was looking at Sasuke curiously, his big black round eyes looking at him innocently. He scrutinized Hinata silently. You plan to bring the baby to your work. Hinata sighed but ignored him and stepped out of the elevator quickly. I will ride you there on my way to meet the annoying blonde we met last night. He swiped Haruto off of her arms and marched to a nearby red sport car on his long legs. Hinata followed while protesting his sudden action. Put your bags here. He ordered and opened the door to Hinata. No, I can. She tried to take Haruto away. Sasuke pulled Haruto farther from Hinata's reach. I hear no rejection. Uchiha-san. Hinata said in annoyance. The tall man was very bossy and rude. It's Sasuke. He said confidently. Uchi. Listen, sweetheart, you should take any offers people offer to you. I don't need help from strangers. We are not strangers, we are Hinata. He took the liberty to call her by her given name. Uchiha-san. Hinata tried to ignore how he dropped the honorific so quickly. It's in the middle of summer, don't you think it's fair for Haruto to walk around under this heat? He explained it to her logically. Hinata bit her lips, she knew that it was unfair for Haruto to suffer together with her. She looked at the baby. Haruto was looking at Sasuke intently. He obviously never heard such a deep and low voice except Hinata's voice or his mother's too. Haruto needed a father figure next to him to help his mentality development which Hinata could never provide. Right. She put her bags on the back seat and took Haruto from Sasuke. It's nice of your daddy, right, Haruto-kun? She commented on the passenger seat when Sasuke sat in the driver's seat. Sasuke scoffed, I'm neither his father nor Uchiha-san, and it's Sasuke, Hinata. Hinata decided to ignore his request since she didn't see any right to do it. Then, why are you helping us? I'm trying to help my neighbor. It's a social knowledge to help anyone who needs it. Is that wrong? And he started the car. I thought we were going to your workplace. Where are we? Sasuke raised his eyebrows when he saw a big apartment complex from his seat. I didn't say so, you concluded it yourself. She straightened Haruto on her arms. I can't bring Haruto-kun to my workplace, it is too noisy and dangerous for him. My colleague who lends her daughter's clothes offers to watch Haruto-kun while I am working. Can you trust her? I can, her husband is a nice doting father, he adores Haruto-kun very much. Hinata got out of the car. He frowned and followed her quickly. Yes, her husband has taken care of my boy for days now. That's not your colleague. Hinata chuckled, of course not, she is working too, isn't she? Sasuke shook his head slowly. You shouldn't let him alone, what if? Well, Haruto-kun will be fine. It will be great if his father takes care of Haruto-kun himself, but Haruto-kun is with me so it's my decision. Hinata shrugged nonchalantly. Sasuke raised his hands in frustration, but he gave up and walked away. Thanks for the ride, Uchiha-san. Hinata said when he reached his car. Sasuke rolled his eyes and entered the car elegantly. Hinata giggled, she was being childish, but she couldn't help it. Uchiha Sasuke was contradicting himself. On one hand he refused to acknowledge Naruto as his son, but on the other hand, he was very attentive to the baby. Could it be possible that Sasuke wasn't Naruto's dad? But Naruto's mom definitely knew who the father was, and the only Uchiha who lived next door was Uchiha Sasuke. Hina. She heard someone call her. Kiba-kun. She smiled at the man. What are you doing here? He jogged to meet her pace. I'm going to Kurenai-sensei's house. Asuma-san is Haruto-kun's babysitter for the day. Ah. I see. He bent down to catch the baby's attention. Good morning, pup. It's a nice day out, huh? He messed up Haruto's hair and held his tiny hand between his forefinger and thumb. Haruto smiled and laughed a little. Hinata smiled, are you on your break time? Not really, I have an hour free so I will check my rarely used apartment and then go back to the station. During this season, my friends take days off to go on holiday with their family, so I'm stuck being the watchdog. It's so sad to be single at this time. He grinned at the baby. You shouldn't be, Kiba-kun. We can have a barbecue party with Niji Niasen and his friends before summer ends. We can go to the small cottage at the mountain and have a small gathering there. Really? That's a nice idea, ask him to bring some cute ones for me, huh? That turned the young policeman into a laughing frenzy. Hinata giggled but didn't pay any heed to his words as she knew he was jesting. I will send you more detailed information, okay? She smiled. Alright. Oh, I haven't found the mother yet, anyway. I will call you when I find something. He said and messed up Haruto's hair again before brushing Hinata's hair. Hinata replied, I will wait. He waved to her and they separated after that. They didn't know that someone was watching their interactions intently through his dark onyx eyes. Sasuke decided to come back and wait so he could offer Hinata a lift to her work, but he found the young woman was busy talking to a tall muscular man with some weird tattoos on his face. They looked friendly and he even touched Hinata and her baby casually. And that made the frown on that usually stoic face deepened. Sasuke went back to his car and drove away quickly with clouded minds. At night Sasuke insisted on talking with Hinata, demanding to meet her and the baby, talking about nothing in particular, making Hinata confused like hell. 10 long minutes in a confusing, roundabout and unimportant talk later, he messed up Haruto's soft dark hair and brushed Hinata's long hair nonchalantly. You may go now. He stated in a satisfied tone and left Hinata in front of her door, blinking in confusion, with a baby who was busy chewing his own fist, without saying his true intention. That Uchiha without doubt was the most unfathomable man she ever met. Chapter 3. He is exercising his leg at this moment. Hinata said with a soft smile. That's good. It's better his legs than his vocal cord, eh? She heard Kiba reply from the phone, and Hinata giggled. He is a good boy, he never whines, except when he is hungry or wets himself. It had been a week since she met Naruto, and after her confrontation with the Uchiha, the apartment next door had become so quiet that Hinata wondered whether the owner was home or not all the time. But. Geez. We still have got nothing so far, sorry, Hina, but we have some big cases and reports to fulfill, but I will try to find her as soon as possible. Kiba sounded so guilty which made Hinata feel bad for him. You Oh okay. What's the matter? Is there something you want to tell me? No. Not really, Kiba-kun. So suspicious, I work as a detective, you know, Hinata. You must have something since you stutter, and when you do it means you are debating to tell or not to tell, eh? Hinata bit her lips and smiled sheepishly. Not really, Kiba-kun. But when Kiba didn't add anything her stupid mouth moved by itself, Wah. What if I find his father? Well, that's even easier and better. Just give the kiddo to his father as his mother wishes. He replied energetically. Hinata sighed, but he neither acknowledged nor wanted Haruto-kun. She heard Kiba sighed, well, it's understandable. It's an unknown son we are talking about and he appears so suddenly like a pimple on your face one morning without warning. Naruto-kun is not some irritation on face, Kiba-kun. Hinata reprimanded softly. Kiba snickered, well, my bad, sorry. He cleared his throat and said formally, you can give me his contact and I will ask him to come. We will talk about it and prepare the documents, he won't be able to elude or run away from his responsibility this time. I assure you. What do you mean? Well, first we will track down his record and his statement. We will put him to have a paternity test if we have to. With that powerful evidence he has to take Haruto into his wing, it doesn't matter if he wants it or not. Kiba explained briefly. But I don't want it. Hinata said softly. Huh? Kiba asked, afraid that he heard it wrong. I mean. Well, if he has to do the paternity test and when Haruto-kun is indeed his son, he has to admit and take Haruto-kun in, that person will feel forced. He won't see Haruto-kun as his son, but rather a responsibility, a burden. He won't love Haruto-kun as a human being, as his own. And that is too sad. It won't be fair for Haruto-kun. Hinata finished her speech with a soft whimper. She heard Kiba groaned in frustration after a long silent minute. Alright. I got it. I got it. We will find his mother and get this all clear, peacefully. Okay. Hi. But I want you to do your best to change his mind too, alright. Perhaps you can change his mind as you do to me. Who knows? Hinata nodded despite being alone in her room. I understand. Thanks, Kiba-kun. Don't thank me yet, you idiot. Just make sure he acknowledges the baby sooner. The sooner the better. But Kiba-kun, I think he doesn't lie to me. Hinata mumbled feverishly when she remembered her neighbor told her about his self-relief. Huh? What did you say? Kiba replied as he didn't hear it clearly. Huh? W hat. Hinata replied hastily, she just realized what she said unconsciously. She and her stupid mouth. No. Nothing, just talking to myself. If you say so. I have to go, my partner and I have an investigation to attend. I will let you know soon after I find something. Okay. See you and please be careful, Kiba-kun. Yeah, you too. Bye Hina. Hinata giggled, well, what would happen to a very conventional teacher and a several months old baby? Hyuga Hinata was looking at a very big problem. Herself. She was a very clumsy and forgetful conventional teacher. She decided to add those new adjectives to describe herself. Two useless yet precise definitions of a Hyuga Hinata. How could she be so careless, she wondered, but with a small baby to watch and keep safe, she claimed that this too must have happened to someone else in this big world. Yeah, something like forgetting your only key to enter your apartment while your spare key was placed in a small box inside your drawer for safety reasons. Or maybe not. It was just Hinata herself and her clumsiness. And her forgetfulness. And her ironic thinking to keep the room safe but to lock herself out of the safe room. Yeah, very smart. Hinata just went to buy some diapers and things at a nearby market only to realize she left her key at the counter. And now locked out of her room. She tried to call the maintenance man to help her, but he wasn't available till 10 since he had some business out of town. Which meant she had to wait at least 4 hours. She called her cousin's friend, but there was no answer. Tenten said about camping in the middle of the mountain or so. Kurenai-sensei was having a holiday so it was out of options. Hinata wanted to go to a cafe, but it would be too noisy. She decided to stand and wait, but the hall was getting cold as the night came. What should I do, Haruto-kun? She said to the sleepy boy. Her arms went stiff and painful after almost 1 hour holding the baby. Hinata wanted to cry very much, but that would only make Haruto restless, so she decided to whisper some soft song to the boy. She gave up and sat on the carpeted floor with a big sigh. The petite woman bit her lips. She couldn't go to her cousin since he would ask too many questions and might do something reckless, albeit doing it for Hinata's sake. Kiba was busy too and she felt guilty to disturb him more. Her gaze fell to the sturdy door next to her. Well, desperate times call for desperate measures. Uchiha Sasuke opened his door sleepily. His hair was messy with big eye bags under his dark eyes. Hinata could see a thin layer of unattended mustache. He yawned and scratched his chin, although wearing only a thin white cotton shirt and navy baggy shorts, Uchiha Sasuke still managed to look magnificent. Uchiha-san. Good evening. Chen. He replied calmly. I have been wondering if I can stay at your place for several hours, 4 at the max. He yawned, why? Well, I kinda forgot to bring my key with me when I went shopping just now and I can't enter my room. He blinked, called the maintenance man. He answered straightforwardly, he was still a little sore from what he saw that day. He can't make it until 10. Sasuke was looking at her with his unreadable expression. Hinata didn't know what was inside his perfect head, but she was too tired and her arms were too numb to think about trivial things. Seeing his lack of reaction, Hinata knew he was not happy. Can you take Haruto-kun in instead? It's a bit cold out here and I don't want him to catch a cold. Just Haruto-kun, please. The lean-built Uchiha scrutinized his neighbor who looked so tired but tried to appear alright and respectable, and such a tiny body was hidden a very strong will. Sasuke opened the door wider and walked back to his room, but he turned around when he felt Hina didn't follow. What are you doing? Huh? Just come in. Hi. Hinata stepped into the room and put her paper bags on the hall. The view in front of her surprised Hinata. Unlike the tidy and clean room she saw that day, her neighbor's room at that moment was an exact picture of when a typhoon ran across your place. There were papers scattered around the floor, table, some even on the sofa. The area of the table which wasn't occupied by the papers was filled with laptops, cups, instant noodles cups and wrecked papers. Hinata didn't know where to put her feet. Sasuke brushed the papers on the sofa and kicked away some under the table. She put Haruto on the sofa and used some pillows to keep him safe from rolling out of the sofa. Well. He won't wake up in at least 2 hours, you can call me when he does. She stepped aside. Where are you going? Sasuke asked with a frown. I'm going to wait outside. Hinata pointed to the door. Sasuke sighed, you can stay. But I thought. Just stay, I don't know how to tend a baby, this small much less. Having you next to him might be a better option, and it's warmer here. It's worse if you catch the cold. Well, Naruto-kun has a father. Hinata shifted her gaze to the floor. I'm not. Sasuke replied. But you just let us in. That is different. That baby is not mine, so you better find his real father fast. He snapped mildly. But he is definitely yours. Hinata insisted on soft mumbling. Fine, go, stay. Whatever. Don't disturb me, I have just finished my work and I need to sleep. You can leave whenever you want. He sounded irritated and disappeared into a room which Hinata presumed as his bedroom. Hinata sighed, his mood was very bad, it seemed. She collected some papers and sat down on the floor. 2 hours later Naruto woke up as Hinata predicted and he definitely needed his meal, so Hinata stepped into the open kitchen and prepared Naruto's milk as quietly as she could. She would explain to the apartment's owner when he was awake. You're a good boy, Naruto-kun. Hinata praised the baby and he replied with a happy giggle. The bluish-haired woman brought the boy to her arms and patted his back to let him burp. There. How are you, my little prince? Did you have a good sleep? She cooed. Naruto mumbled and looked around the room, he clearly knew it wasn't Hinata's as he mumbled and swung his hand to a wall filled with pictures. Hinata stood and brought the baby to the said wall. Can you find daddy? Naruto responded. Yeah, you can see daddy, right? Hinata nodded and looked at one picture of many young men of Uchiha. There was also the blonde she saw that night and a silver-haired man who wore a mask to cover the lower half of his face. Mum. Naruto mumbled again, his mouth moved up and down while looking at the photo then Hinata. It would be nice if your mommy is inside the photo too, nah? Hinata giggled at her silliness. Hinata then moved to see the next pictures, only to realize it was almost 8:30 and there was no sign from the owner to wake up soon, so she decided to make some dinner to thank the owner. Let's make some delicious food for Uchiha-san, nah, Uchiha-kun. She happily made some onigiri and salad while Naruto was sleeping on the counter, safe from any hazardous materials of course. Hinata had checked his refrigerator only to find half of it filled with tomato juice and fresh tomatoes. His cabinet was no better, he stocked only canned tomatoes and tomato sauce. Hinata wondered how this man could stay alive with such low nutrition. Is that why he has such good and radiant skin? She mumbled. What is that? A deep voice responded. Hinata yelped and an onigiri she was making slipped out of her hands and was caught by Sasuke smoothly. You are startling me. Sasuke scratched his stomach, his well-toned abs were a feast to Hinata's eyes. The man plainly didn't intend to clean or improve his messy appearance, but he still looks as good as the models on the catwalk. She shook her head and pushed a plate filled with onigiri. I used some hot water and your utensils just now and I made some dinner for you to thank you. I'm sorry for intruding. She bowed. Chen. He sat and ate the onigiri he caught just now. How is it? Hinata asked timidly. Consumable. He answered flatly. Hinata was amused since her foods were praised highly, especially by Kiba and her Nai-san. Hearing Uchiha Sasuke's short answer was a new thing for her and that made her heart tingling and happy. It was so strange. Why don't you eat too? I have some just now. She blushed and went back to cradle the baby. Sorry for the wait. She brought the giggling baby to the living room but it was still visible from Sasuke's position. Sasuke ate his actually very delicious dinner and watched his guests' interaction silently. The raven-haired man observed the woman carefully, she was lovely, although not as stunning or mesmerizing as Sakura or Ino were but still lovely. Hinata's beauty was pure, delicate, pleasant and classy. Hinata's movements were also very elegant and her visage was cute, adorable and everything between those, especially her ever-present blush on those fluffy cheeks. Sasuke thought Hinata was a bit weird, in a good way, as she willingly took in a stranger's child, which clearly wasn't her into her arms and protected him. Had it been another woman, namely Sakura, she would have gone crazy taking care of the baby between her packed schedule. Both Naruto and him would hear endless screaming from her. Yet, here was Hinata, asking for help from her barely known neighbor who could be a bad guy, just so her baby was alright. It's your job cleaning up this room I suppose. Sasuke said when he stepped into his clean and organized living room, there was a big trash bag at the corner of the room. I just felt uneasy being here doing nothing to help. I stacked the papers based on the year-end diagrams and then the other is what I think unused, but perhaps you can check it before throwing it away. She pointed to stacks of paper. Chen. I will later. He sat on the sofa. Do you want to hold him? Hinata asked from the floor across from him. Sasuke looked at the boy stoically, while Naruto looked at the man with his innocent round eyes. No, thanks. But, he needs his father. Hinata interjected. Which isn't me. Sasuke replied. Fine. Hinata huffed. Good. Sasuke smirked. And Naruto laughed. Hinata smiled solemnly. Perhaps I should believe in you, Naruto is too cute and joyful to be yours. Are you telling me that I'm bitter and sorrowful? Sasuke raised his brows, teasing the lavender-eyed woman. Beep. Hinata clearly didn't realize that she said her thoughts out loud. Sasuke extended his hands to the baby and gave him to me. I will show you what joy is. And Uchiha Sasuke did. He played with the boy childishly and warmly. Naruto never laughed so loud whenever he was with Hinata, which was sad. Gone was the moody and bad-mannered Uchiha Sasuke. The man who played with the baby was silly yet still charismatic as ever. Hinata suspected the moody part was thanks to the workload. Uchiha Sasuke was a good man, albeit sometimes thorny here and there. Besides, a baby wouldn't be so easy and relaxed in a cold-hearted guy's arms, right? Uchiha-san. Sasuke. He corrected me. Sasuke-san. Sasuke rolled his eyes but responded with a short HN. Last time. You said that you would remember every girl you met. When Sasuke smirked and got what Hinata was trying to say, you mean the girls who I foo. I really appreciate it if you stop there. Hinata cut hastily. There is a baby here. Sasuke's smirk didn't disappear though. So what? He doesn't understand. I prefer he doesn't know as long as I can help it. Well, I just want to ask whether you forgot about Naruto's mom by accident. Impossible. Sasuke answered with a short snort and Naruto laughed, he must be thinking that Sasuke is playing with him. Why, you could be drunk tea that time. Sasuke hummed, you have seen my job, there's no time to drink. My clients will go berserk knowing their business is run by a drunkard. That's true. How old is this boy? He pushed his forefinger into Naruto's fluffy cheek, the said baby was smiling and swinging his limbs energetically. Kurenai-sensei told me he was about 5 or 6 months old, in her opinion. The Uchiha made a quick calculation in his brain, so, he was born in spring, which means it's about summer when he was conceived. He closed his eyes and frowned, I wasn't here that time. I was out of town, working. You can see it yourself. He handed a rectangular schedule notebook he took from the cabinet next to him to Hinata. The said woman bit her lips when she read the carelessly written notebook, it was filled with a packed and tight timetable. Yeah, last year was a bad year, but fortunately Sasuke bastard helped us. It was a nightmare, our shares dropped drastically, lost the stakeholders and lost our market. Team and I worked for weeks, we barely slept let alone took baths. You should have come and see how stupid he looked, he even didn't go on a date and Sasuke disconnected the line to Naruto. Perhaps it wasn't a good decision to call his stupid friend to confirm his words. Naruto wasn't well known for his gratefulness. He took the phone and dialed another number and Hinata waited nervously, fortunately Naruto had gone back to her arms to calm her down. Yes, I remember it. That time was very hectic. I quite regret it for not being able to help you guys, but we were short-handed at the hospital, too. Ah, I heard from Naruto you even went to survey the market after 3 sleepless nights like a zombie. He laughed about your appearance and remembered that I found you fell down on the road with your face. Sasuke disconnected the call with a low hiss. Those guys will be dead. And only then Hinata realized that Uchiha Sasuke wasn't Naruto's dad. But then, who? Her hours with the raven-haired man came to an end. The maintenance man called her an hour later, Sasuke followed Hinata waiting in the hallway as the maintenance man finished his job in less than 15 minutes. Hinata felt a bit sad since they would be apart. The stoic man was helping Hinata bring her shopping bag on one arm and Naruto on the other one and still look like a handsome model. Your son looks awfully like your husband, you should try a daughter too. I bet she will be a pretty girl like his mommy, no. The man tidied up his instruments, Sasuke just chuckled while Hinata blushed darkly. And no. We aren't. She stammered, denied and blushing at the same time. We will try harder. He smirked and bumped Hinata's shoulder playfully. Hinata was very grateful that she was older, stronger although none wiser, so she didn't fade out by such lecherous comments. The maintenance man laughed and excused himself politely. Hinata opened the door and went to check her key, and indeed she forgot her key as Sasuke stepped in her apartment. You shouldn't forget it next time. Hi, sorry. Hinata bit her lips and took the sleepy Naruto from Sasuke. Naruto mumbled again and blinked, trying to stay awake. You should sleep now, it is past your sleeping time. Sasuke messed up his dark hair then went to the door. Hinata put the baby on the bed and ran to the door, Sasuke who stood on the cold foyer turned around, Thank you for today. Sasuke looked at his neighbor, at that position he was still a bit taller than Hinata. He stretched out his hand and moved closer to her, closer and closer, that his face was several centimeters from Hinata. What is he going to do? Oh my. Oh my. The Hyuga was holding her breath, too scared to move, and her eyes were closed automatically. Hinata. Hinata opened her eyes as he pinched her left cheek. Oh. HN. He smirked and went away. Hinata touched her cheek, it was hot not because of the weather or embarrassment. Her heart was also beating fast not because of nervousness or anxiety. It was something new for her. It was the first time for her. Chapter 4. Is this big enough? Kurenai said to Hinata who was busy cutting some fruits. Hi, thank you, Kurenai-san. She smiled at the older woman. Geez, ever so polite. The older woman replied while placing the blue ceramic bowl next to Hinata. The said young woman smiled and put the neatly cut fruits into the bowl. There, done. She said. I'll help you to bring it to the living room. Kurenai's daughter, Mirai, said from next to the counter. Thank you, Mirai-chan. Hinata said to the 8-year-old girl. Hinata-sensei, can I give some to Haruto-kun? Hinata nodded, sure, use this to give him small bites, okay. She handed over a plastic spoon she usually used to feed Haruto. Okay. It's nice meeting and chatting with you outside of the school. Too bad Asuma is busy with his editor, he really would love to come and play with Haruto-kun, but you know him. Hinata shifted from the counter and arranged food she had prepared earlier on a tray. Me, too. I'm happy you can come to spend your time with us. We are in the middle of summer holiday, but I have no will to bring him out under such strong weather, and I'm afraid Haruto-kun will feel bored playing alone. Nonsense. He will never be bored, you can call us then we can spend all day long together. Mirai is really fond of the little baby, too. Kurenai took another tray and arranged a big jar filled with cold green tea and empty glasses. Thank you, Kurenai-san. They went to the living room where Mirai fed Haruto grounded apples, and the baby nodded happily when the girl asked whether he liked the fruit. Hinata left her guests and the baby when she heard her doorbell ring. Hi Hina. I have just read your message. I'm not too late, aren't I? Kiba grinned at her. Of course not, Kiba-kun. Come in, please. We haven't started yet. She stepped back and allowed the tan-skinned man to enter her apartment. Here, I bring some pudding and ice cream for the brats. He handed a bag filled with the desserts while changing his loafers into lavender flippers. Thank you, Kiba-kun. Nah, it should be me who thanks you. I haven't had any proper meals and oh. Look who it is. He laughed. Uncle Kiba. Mirai called happily, Haruto turned his small head to see the man better. The detective draped his jacket on Hinata's sofa and sat on it casually, man, you are still a squirt, huh? Do you eat properly? What are you eating, baby boy? He touched Haruto's head gently. That's rude, Kabaka. I won't believe in you. Daddy says not to grow so fast. She stuck out her tongue to the man. Yeah, your daddy is a fool. And you are a big bad bear. Mirai replied. Ah, is that all you can think of me? He laughed, Haruto grinned and laughed as he thought the detective was saying something funny. Are you sure we have one baby here since I think I see 3 babies here? Kurenai said with a sigh. Hinata giggled, 2 babies and 1 oversized baby. Right, now give this oversized baby his food. Kiba replied lightly. It was their routine bantering, and Hinata enjoyed it very much. Their lunch ended quickly, God, Hinata. I can't move at all, you should take responsibility. Kiba flopped on the long sofa and groaned satisfyingly. What a glutton. Mirai commented dryly. You will know how I feel when you are a grown-up, brat. Kiba replied in his sleepy voice. Here, drink your tea. Kurenai said to her daughter. Haruto was sitting on Hinata's lap, chewing his new toys Kurenai brought that morning. Any news about Haruto-kun's mother? Kurenai placed another glass on the table for Hinata then one for Kiba. Nah, we capture her silhouette. She wore a hoodie, cap and mask. Definitely knows what she does. We have got the bus plate though. I hope we can track down the CCTV about where she lives soon. Oh, I see. Hinata looked at the plump baby, Haruto-kun saw Hinata and offered his toy to her. No, you can keep it, Haruto-kun. She said and snuggled on the baby. Haruto giggled at Hinata's actions. Don't worry Hina, we will find her. Kiba assured me. Taking Hinata's spiritless answer as a disappointment that they couldn't find the mother yet. However it was quite the opposite, Hinata was too attached to Haruto that she wished to very bad things secretly, that they wouldn't find her, that she didn't want Haruto anymore, so Hinata could have Haruto for herself from now on. What a bad person she was. Yeah. Sasuke groaned when he heard his phone ring. He had just gone to sleep at 8 in the morning, and now at what, 10 o'clock, someone decided it was a great thing to call. He barely had his sleep so the person would receive his wrath in full force. Sasuke placed the phone on his ear, half sleeping, HN. He answered without looking at the number. Sasuke. A feminine voice said in enthusiasm. Mother. One and only person in the world who he couldn't tell to fuck off. What is it, Sasuke? You don't sound so good. Are you sick? No, I had a long night. Who was the pretty girl? What girl? His mind wandered to his pretty neighbor immediately. His mother wouldn't know about her, would she? She isn't my girl. The one who kept you up last night. They said it at the same time. Oh my, so there's a girl. You should bring her with you to our summer family gathering this afternoon. Sasuke groaned and cursed his stupid mouth and lack of sleep brain. What gathering? He tried to change the subject. Don't tell me you forgot about it. I have told you since the early of the summer, haven't I? He could imagine his mother's famous pout which no one could resist, especially his father. It's today. He peeled open one eye and looked at the table calendar he placed on his nightstand. Uh-huh. His mother sang out her answer. Do I have to come? Sasuke was trying his luck, really. What do you think? Mikoto replied with the same tone. How about Itachi? He shifted and placed his chin on the pillow and mumbled sleepily. Seriously, it wouldn't change much if he didn't attend the gathering once. I'm helping my mother with her cookies, little brother. Itachi answered for his mother. Sasuke groaned inwardly, his ever so busy brother bothered to attend the gathering, which meant he had no choice. I understand, I will be late, but I will make it up to you. That's great. You can bring your girlfriend too, darling. Sasuke grumbled, I don't have any. I had to finish 2 proposals and a new project briefing last night, so I barely had a sleep. Poor boy. Do you need Itachi to pick you up? HN. Driving with some sleep deprivation wasn't a good way to spend your summer, it might become your last summer instead. He will go in an hour, darling. After finishing my cookies, definitely. Alright. See you soon. HN. Sasuke slumped down to his pillow again. He still had 3 hours to sleep before his brother's arrival. Their summer house was far from the suburbs and it took 2 hours to get there. Finally, some sleep. He mumbled. By the time he was ready, it was a little after 2. His brother had a good way to annoy and wake him up even without him trying to. They stepped out of his apartment at the same time with a man from Hinata's room. Thanks again, Hina. I will make sure that everything works out immediately. Hinata nodded, here, I have leftovers and onigiri packed for you, Kiba-kun. I have put it in a small portion so you can eat it without dirtying your clothes. Wow. Thanks Hinata. I do wait for it. I hope we don't bloat over your food supply, though. He grinned sheepishly. Hinata giggled, don't worry about it, Kiba-kun. I invited you guys since you help us a lot. Don't sweat over it. Kiba took Hinata's offer. If you say so. I will do my best to find her, Hina. He assured me. Hinata smiled brightly, thank you, Kiba-kun. They hugged. Say my goodbye to my little boy, will ya? Hina giggled, of course. Kiba disappeared into the elevator with a big smile. Sasuke, who watched the whole thing, was irritated. The stranger was the same one who he saw that day, and what with the overly friendly and touching gesture. Besides, Naruto was clearly an Uchiha, not a puppy like that stranger. What? Uchiha-san. Hinata greeted politely when she saw Sasuke and Itachi. HN. Who was he? He asked automatically, then cursed inwardly when he realized his sudden question. Impatience. My friend Kiba-kun, he is a detective and I asked him to help me to find Naruto-kun's mother. HN. But it has been weeks. What a great detective. Sasuke commented smugly. Hinata blinked. He is being careful and he has his own works, Uchiha-san. Everyone does. She answered without stuttering. Sasuke shrugged, well, good luck then. Would you introduce us, little brother? Itachi decided to talk when Sasuke started to walk away. Sasuke narrowed his eyes in suspicion, do I have to? Itachi smiled and introduced himself as he knew his little brother wouldn't do anything. I'm Uchiha Itachi, Sasuke's big brother. Nice to meet you, young miss. Hinata didn't take Itachi's hand, but rather inspected Itachi's face. No, he wasn't the one. Despite having black hair and onyx eyes, their features were a bit different. Is there something on my face? Hinata was surprised that she stared at the man impolitely, no. No. It's just. I'm Hyuga Hinata. Nice to meet you too, Uchiha-san. She shook his hand and bowed politely. Come on Itachi, we are late, mother will be angry with us. He pulled Itachi's hand away from Hinata's. And whose fault do you think? Itachi smiled. Itachi then learned that his little brother was having a bad mood, was it related to the feminine beauty? Perhaps his mother's instinct about Sasuke being in love was right. That was a big mystery he would love to solve immediately. Well then, Hyuga-san. Itachi said and followed his suddenly very hurried brother. She is pretty, isn't she? Itachi said nonchalantly when they were alone in the elevator. Sasuke sighed, no. Perhaps you can arrange a small dinner for us. Itachi pushed a bit. Sasuke scoffed, no way. She is off of the limit. Why? You said she wasn't pretty. She isn't, but she isn't yours too. And then he stepped out of the small elevator, leaving his brother alone. Itachi chuckled, his little brother was a very possessive man. The grocery store was crowded as usual. Hinata decided to go for a walk to chase away her boredom. Let's buy some fruits, shall we? Hinata said to the baby in her arms. What do you want to eat, Haruto-kun? She patted his back softly. Perhaps, some mangoes. They walked to the fruit aisle and Hinata happily picked the fruit together with the baby. Just when she stepped aside she hit another person behind her back. Oh, my god. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. Hinata bowed. The person, a woman in her mid-20s giggled, her shoulder-length brown hair shook as she did. No. It's okay. Your baby is very cute, I can't help but to stare. She brushed off Hinata's apology lightly. Hinata smiled when she heard the woman's praise for Haruto. Yes, Haruto-kun is very cute, aren't you? She cooed to the baby and Haruto laughed. Yeah, he is very pretty for a baby boy. Is he yours? She took Haruto's small fist and waggled tenderly. You are so cute. No. He is not mine. There are some circumstances and now he lives with me. The stranger's brown eyes looked at them in surprise. Oh, I thought he was yours, since you both look so close. She stared at the boy as the baby did to her. No. It's not. It's just Haruto-kun is a good boy and he can befriend anyone. Right, Haruto-kun. Haruto laughed. Aw. But you both look great and resemble family more than other families I have ever met. She smiled, but in Hinata's eyes, her laugh was somewhat sad. Ayano. Then a ringing tone cut her words. Excuse me for a while. She smiled and answered the phone. Hello? Okay. Sorry, I know. She disconnected her phone. I'm sorry, I have to go now. Bye-bye, Haruto-kun. She greeted Hinata goodbye and disappeared amongst the crowd. Hinata couldn't get rid of that person's sad face from her own mind. Sasuke stretched his limbs when they arrived at the big mansion. Being in the small car his mother lent his brother for hours wasn't a good experience. They even had to stop by places to buy things his mother forgot to buy and they were important so they had to buy them no matter what. Yeah, if you meant a specific brand of ramen and some sleeping bags together with a large sum of fruits were important, especially the ramen. He could guess who gave the stupid idea. They stepped into the living room, Sasuke brought the sleeping bags on one hand and a large paper bag filled with ramen on another hand while his brother was responsible for bringing in the fruits. Boy, team. You have arrived, the stupid and annoying blonde greeted enthusiastically. His mother didn't go halfway in arranging her small gathering. Wow. Ramen, he yelled happily and his playful tone irked Sasuke's mood. The raven-haired man threw the whole paper bag in Naruto's direction when the blonde ran to take the bag. Ouch. What was that for? He groaned painfully on the floor. Sasuke didn't pay any heed and stomped on his stomach when he walked past. You deserve it, dope. Naruto. What happened? Sakura appeared from the kitchen. Sasuke-kun, you have arrived. She smiled and ran toward the blonde on the floor in a rush when she saw the disaster behind Sasuke. Naruto. What happened? Sasuke left them and continued his journey to find his mother. Almost all of Uchiha had arrived and called him, Sasuke grunted his answer but didn't stop to talk. Ara. You have arrived. Where is Itachi? Mikoto asked. Sasuke put the sleeping bags on the floor next to the wall. Bringing in the fruits. Are we going to open a fruit stall or what? I literally dragged those bags out of the store. Mikoto giggled hearing her son's gruff answer. There are tons of people this time and I don't want them to starve. She said to Sasuke's cousins to help Itachi. As if. And what with the ramen? It's Naruto's stupid request, right? His mother's giggle answered his questions. The dinner his mother arranged was a big success. There weren't only the Uchiha family, but also the Namikaze family, a business partner for generations, extended family and close friends, Hada, Kakashi and Sakura. Naruto flopped next to Sasuke on the sofa after the dinner. The family went scattered around the big mansion. Sakura took a small stool and sat next to them. Geez, you and your bad moods. Why did you call me and turn it off so suddenly days ago? Naruto asked cheerfully. Sakura nodded despite frowning. That's right, Sasuke-kun. What's wrong? Can we help you? She said out of concern. Sasuke scoffed and didn't answer. He didn't want to remember why he called in the first place, but it seemed like Naruto had another opinion. Talking about help, what about the beauty lady? When are you going to bring her here? He asked curiously, his grin was so disgusting, just like his teacher. Sasuke wondered why Naruto turned more and more similar to his perverted teacher than his proper and gentle father. What lady? Itachi asked from behind the sofa Sasuke and Naruto were sitting on. What lady, little brother? He placed his hands on the sofa's soft headrest, hovering above Sasuke's head, asking again when he heard no answer from Sasuke. The lady with Ba Naruto said, but Sasuke was quicker, he smacked Naruto on his head. The blonde grunting in pain and Sakura went to help him immediately. Sasuke-kun, that's too much. Yeah, team. It hurts, damn you. Itachi looked at them in confusion. What is it? You won't tell me? HN. It's nobody's business. Sasuke answered shortly. It was not like he didn't want to tell his brother, but Hinata and Naruto were in a difficult place. He didn't want to put his neighbor under the spotlight until he was sure whose baby it was. Hinata was quite in trouble taking care of the baby, and it would worry her more if his family barged into her life. And what about the lady? Itachi asked again. Nothing. It's Naruto being stupid as usual. What? You call me MBBSPH? Sasuke threw another pillow at the blonde. Shut up. Naruto grabbed a pillow and scratched his neck awkwardly. Nah, it's nothing. It seems like I remember it wrong. Sasuke nodded while Sakura rolled her eyes. Boys. Itachi kept his opinion to himself. Sasuke would tell him when he was ready. Like any other gathering, the older generation of Uchiha would hang out at the main living room where lots of chairs were provided, talking about business and worlds, while the younger generation would gather in the recreation area, playing or merely talking. Uchiha Hisui leaned on a billiard pool and launched his attack. Across from him was Uchiha Obito, who laughed when Hisui failed his attack. It's my turn. Obito announced proudly. Sasuke, Naruto, Itachi and Kakashi, Obito's closest friend, were sitting circling a big round table, playing poker. It wasn't very good actually since all the Uchiha plus Kakashi were great in hiding their emotions, so except Naruto, everyone was very hard to read. Damn it. It's me again. Naruto groaned loudly. Sasuke threw his cards. You have to shuffle it again, and this time you owe me a new set of computer and professional audio equipment. He smirked. Aw. It's not like you will use it anyway. You're working all the time, so what use are they? Naruto replied seriously. Oh. Don't tell me you are going to use it to watch porn, huh? He commented with a grin. Of course. I will decide how to use it, you ass. He threw an apple to Naruto which was caught easily by the blonde. Yeah, besides you can't use it since you have that Hinata as your neighbor, huh? What is or who is Hinata? Obito asked from his position. No one. Sasuke answered shortly. Yet Itachi decided to join the conversation. If I remember correctly, she is Sasuke's neighbor. I met her this afternoon. Obito grinned. Really? How is she? Pretty. Hot. Your turn. Hisui said flatly. Oh, yeah. He bent down to see his target. She is. Itachi tried to find a correct adjective. Lovely. Obito whistled. I never thought you had such a neighbor last year. Ah. Damn. He cursed when he lost his target. Hisui went back to the game. And that reminds me, where are you going to leave again? As I remember, you are very busy at this time in 1 year. Just like last year. Obito asked randomly. Yeah, this time works like crazy and takes any projects he is offered. Sakura-chan disapproves of his work time and I am the one she beats every time she knows. Naruto replied. It's the beats of love. Kakashi said while his eyes didn't leave his porn. Ma, you could say it so. Naruto grinned. The pink-haired woman wasn't there to beat her boyfriend since there was an emergency at her hospital, so she left early. So, this time you won't be at home, Sasuke? Obito asked a bit too eagerly. Perhaps. His schedule wasn't fixed yet since he hadn't decided which proposal to go to. Then lend it to me again this year, okay? Obito asked while laughing. I really like your apartment, it's the best place to show off to the girls. I had a very memorable experience at your house last summer. The girls went crazy knowing it was your place. Sasuke went silent. What? You have some nerve to say that. What if Rin hears about it? Kakashi placed his porn and looked at his best friend seriously. Like I care about that woman. She was the first one I brought there and we had those fantastic moments. I thought we were meant to be, but she disappeared after 1 month. I couldn't reach for her. He shrugged. You were dumped. Itachi said nonchalantly. Definitely dumped. Perhaps it relates to your tools. Hisui commented dryly. You jerk. My tools are fine and fantastic, the other girls told me so. He laughed. So did Naruto and Hisui. Kakashi rolled his eyes, clearly didn't agree with Obito's words. It was only Itachi who realized Sasuke's rigid stance. What's wrong, little brother? Sasuke went to his stupid cousin. You. He exclaimed loudly while grabbing Obito's collar. Hisui moved quickly to separate them. Calm down, Sasuke. He knows what he does. Naruto, who stood behind Sasuke, was holding one of his arms cautiously. Yeah, team. That's right. You don't need to worry, I cleaned up your apartment and refilled your fridge as a gratitude. I just need a roof to sleep on. I am fine with you using my apartment only for sleeping. Sasuke hissed darkly. Little brother. Itachi said in concern. All of them thought Sasuke was mad because of Obito's illicit activities in his apartment, yet it wasn't. I'm fine with you and your stupid and useless activities. If you were playing around safely, I wouldn't mind. Sasuke said and then added darkly, how could an irresponsible man like you sire a baby? Hisui staggered back, Kakashi looked at Obito, and Naruto's hand on Sasuke was gone. Itachi, just like the others, was standing silently, too confused and too surprised to talk. What? Obito asked dumbfoundedly. Sasuke grabbed his cousin's collar once again, but this time tighter, you have some explaining to do. Chapter 5. Hinata marched to her door while drying her wet hands. Assuming it was Kiba, he sometimes dropped by to have lunch with her, so she trailed to her door and opened it calmly. What is it, Kiba? Yet the person or people who stood in front of her door weren't Kiba at all. She had never seen so much black hair and onyx eyes in her life, so she thought she might have a culture shock. Sasuke was standing silently there together with a man she met the day prior, his brother, she remembered. In the group of 4 strangers, 2 were women. The first woman was the splitting image of Sasuke, although in the opposite gender and of course a lovely smile which Sasuke never showed, while the other one was older with her silver hair yet kind smile. The rest were men, one was a stern-faced man who was no older than her own father. While the last man was a young man with dark black spiked hair. He looked so tired and wretched, as if he had just landed on the earth after being thrown all around the world at a light speed, beaten up and drowned into the deep sea before being dragged back to the ground. Sasuke stepped up and announced their arrival. Hinata looked at him and his handsome face. We want to meet the baby. She knew it. They wanted Naruto. Her clouded mind and fast-beating heart weren't working in harmony at all. Sasuke's voice seemed to come from a faraway land and she had to process it so difficult, but finally her body moved. She stepped aside to let her guests enter her room. He is inside. She replied softly. They went to the living room at the end of the hall. Hinata felt her apartment shrunk insignificantly when the Uchihas set their feet in her room. I'm sorry for intruding your place so suddenly, sweetheart. The younger woman of the 2 said warmly. Hinata nodded and blushed furiously when she heard how the woman called her. Sasuke smirked when he saw Hinata's blush, he knew what was inside her pretty head. It's okay. Hinata replied. Perhaps you should introduce us first, Sasuke-kun. The elderly woman said. Chen. My father, Uchiha Fugaku. He said, indicating the old man. Hinata bowed and introduced herself, while the stoic man just nodded in acknowledgement. My mother. My name is Uchiha Mikoto. She smiled at Hinata, and the Hyuga bowed politely. That stupid man over there is Uchiha Obito. Which gained him a smack from his mother, but Sasuke ignored it. And his grandmother. Sasuke explained shortly. It's the most unimpressive and short introduction I have ever seen, brother. The man with long hair tied on his nape said lightly. And you know him, my useless brother. Sasuke ended nonchalantly. Sasuke. Mikoto warned. What? He replied in a bored tone. Please, behave. Mikoto smiled at Hinata awkwardly. I'm sorry, Hinata-chan. Is that okay for me to call you that? Hinata nodded, her mother had passed away a long time ago and she had never heard a motherly voice calling her name. She missed it so much. Mikoto beamed with happiness, I swear I taught them to be polite even when they were babies, but something was wrong with my method, it seemed. I don't know where his attitude comes from. She sighed in the end, although all of them could see she was trying to be modest. The older he gets the more rude he is. He is just alienated, perhaps. We almost believe he got accidentally swapped when he was a baby for being so rude and cold. All of the Uchiha are warm and friendly people, I swear. We wonder where he gets his uniqueness. Sasuke's brother kindly explained to her. As if. Sasuke snorted. Too bad he is clearly an Uchiha, nah. Obito's grandmother added with a soft laugh followed by Mikoto, while Itachi just chuckled. Hinata thought Sasuke was the exact example mixture of his mother and father. He had her mother's features while his father's cool demeanor. Also, he was not that rude or cold, Sasuke was just being. Well, himself. She didn't see it as a problem, though. However, all of her guests amazed her, they had such mysterious and undeniably beautiful complexions which you couldn't find in any ordinary person, especially the young male species. Last night my son dropped a bombshell and surprised us. The Uchiha patriarch said suddenly. Apparently, one of the young men in our family decides to have way too much fun and forgets that his actions can cause serious problems. His gaze was placed on the man who said nothing at all since Hinata saw him. Darling. Mikoto warned. He paid her warning and continued, I will appreciate it if you can show us the truth to bring us out of the dark, young miss. Hinata nodded, I understand. Please sit down. I will bring him. He should be awake at this moment. She said nervously and disappeared into her bedroom. Uchiha Fugaku took the liberty to sit on the head of the sofa, like he usually did at home. Itachi, Mikoto and Obito's grandmother sat on the long sofa. Obito stood awkwardly in the middle of the room, while Sasuke stood next to the window, clearly very comfortable there. I can't believe we have to be in this situation. Fugaku frowned, but his voice was stern. It can't be helped, right? Mikoto answered. Oh, I can't wait to see the baby. It's been a long time since we have had a baby around us to be spoiled. That's right, nah. Obito's grandmother added. When are you going to give us more babies, Itachi-kun? Itachi just smiled, not so fast, I suppose. With Obito's baby, I am spared for several years ahead. But you are not that young anymore, Itachi-kun. The elderly woman said. That's right. Your father and I already have you, and Sasuke was on his way to meet us when we were your age. Mikoto agreed wholeheartedly. Is that so? Itachi asked, looking surprised although he had heard his mother's share of thoughts for years. Too bad, mother, since you have to wait more patiently for me to give you that. Hopefully I still have my black hair at that time. I want to be a young grandmother, you know. She teased. You are beautiful no matter how you change, mother. Itachi said honestly. My. Itachi-kun is a sweet boy. Obito's grandmother patted his shoulder. But, still. Mikoto insisted. Well, if you want to be a young grandmother perhaps you should press on little brother more. Itachi answered wisely. What? Sasuke raised his brows when everyone's attention shifted to him. Even Obito looked at him in shock. Mikoto's eyes blinked, her smile appeared fast. Oh. That's right. You talked about a girl last time I called you. Who is she? Do I know her? Are you going to bring her home? Are we going to meet her soon? Sasuke pretended to be deaf from his mother's long list of questions. Ara. I can't wait to meet her myself. You should introduce her to us too, Sasuke-kun. Obito's grandmother added. You have met her, mother. Itachi answered for his brother. That made not only Mikoto's attention, but also Fugaku's to him, while Sasuke was glaring darkly at his brother. That's the first time I heard about this. And that came from Sasuke's father. Damn Itachi and his loose mouth. Haruto-kun. Hinata said when she entered her bedroom. The small baby was busy attacking and chewing his left foot when she entered and blinked to her. What are you doing? She sat and touched his plump cheek. Your family has come to take you home, little prince. Haruto let his covered foot away and blinked at Hinata innocently. You must be very happy, nah? She whispered slowly, I will miss you badly, though. At the end of her sentence she bent down to kiss his forehead softly. Haruto mumbled and grabbed Hinata's long hair energetically. He laughed when Hinata gave him another kiss. The little baby didn't understand her sadness at that point. I will miss you, Haruto-kun. She hugged the baby tightly. Hinata pulled the baby out of the bed carefully and cradled him in her arms desperately. I will miss you. I love you, oh, how I love you, my little prince. She said in stutter, her heart wasn't prepared to separate from the little baby. Haruto giggled at her warm hug. Why are you laughing, She cooed and he laughed louder. What is so funny, What's funny? Funny? She cooed and nuzzled his nose to her. They fell into a laughing fit. That's right, we can still meet. If they are as good as Sasuke-san then I can still meet you. Hinata assured herself. Although, I don't want you to go. She hugged the baby again. Yet she didn't have much time. Let's go. Your family needs you more than I do. Hinata tried to reason. When Hinata stepped back to her living room, her guests stopped talking altogether. Mikoto and the older woman giggled, Itachi looked satisfied, the silent man looked somewhat amused, while Sasuke looked as if he was going to kill someone. Oh my what a cute baby. Mikoto decided to cut the silence. Her arms stretched immediately when she saw Haruto. What's your name, baby boo? She cooked expertly. It's Haruto-kun. Hinata answered politely. The baby boy, very cute and handsome, too. She smiled solemnly, Uchiha Haruto-kun, I like it. She smiled at Hinata. So do I, the gray-haired woman scooted closer and played with Haruto's small hand. They clearly were bewitched by the little baby. Looking at how comfortable Haruto was in Mikoto's arms, Hinata decided to excuse herself to get some refreshments for her guests and also give them a private family time. You've already known who the father is, I presume. Sasuke's voice startled her and she almost dropped her glass if only he didn't catch it immediately. Hinata nodded to his question. She could see the similarity of Haruto and his father, the only one who didn't say anything from the start. He must be very flabbergasted by the sudden truth. How did you find him? She poured cold tea into the glasses. Sasuke shrugged and answered while playing with her crystal tea set. Sasuke helped Hinata to organize her cookies and small eclairs with green tea cream filling she made the day before. His hands moved automatically without being told. Not that difficult. From all of the Uchihas, he is a bit more like an idiot. There must be something wrong with his brain. They looked natural in Hinata's small kitchen. Not only his brain, he has some problems with his little fellow, too. He added with a smirk in the end. Hinata blinked before blushed when she understood his meaning. That's not nice, Sasuke-san. Chen. He is lucky he gets Haruto as his son, or else. Sasuke snorted and brought the tray full of heavy glasses of tea easily, leaving Hinata with a smaller and lighter one. She had to stop when he saw Haruto in his father's arms, who was sitting on the sofa at the moment. Both of them were observing and studying each other deeply. Hinata could see it, the same expression and traits of the man in Haruto, although Haruto had them gentler. It was a stunning yet emotional moment at the same time. Haruto, who had only met Sasuke, was fascinated with his own father, while Haruto's father was awed by the baby's existence, which he never knew or thought he would have. "How do you feel, Obito?" his grandmother asked kindly. Her soft expression made her look younger than she was supposed to be. It's incredible, interesting, shocking, and unimaginable altogether. I can't believe it," he answered without shifting his gaze from the baby. "Given your unawareness of him these several months, it's understandable," Itachi said nonchalantly. "Still, it's not a reason to be so irresponsible. You fail as an Uchiha member," Sasuke's father remarked. "Darling." Makoto hushed him. "I know. I have never intended to," he replied calmly. "Never have imagined that." Fugaku sighed. "We have come this far, so I expect you to be responsible. As your uncle, I will make sure you do." Obito nodded. He grinned at the baby, which made Haruto giggled as a response. "Naruto-kun knows you love him, nah?" Makoto commented happily. "Yeah, I can see it," Sasuke replied dryly. "You won't believe how I feel, cousin. Sure, I am not the one who is arranging wild summer slumber parties involving women and swimsuits at my cousin's house. I definitely don't understand how you feel." Fugaku's face turned red, not because of embarrassment, but more likely rage. Makoto and Itachi just shook their heads in amusement. Obito. Yet it was his grandmother who scolded the new father sternly. "I don't remember raising you to be an insolent and wild man. You never know how difficult your mother tried to have you." Her chin-length hair swayed as she talked. "Yeah, I second that. I have had my kids on my stomach for a long time. Long enough to break my feet." Makoto sighed. "Obito, I give you some space like you wish, but it doesn't mean you can be so immature and careless," Fugaku said in a higher tone. He clearly was displeased by Obito's lifestyle. I know. Makoto took Haruto from his arms. Obito scratched his head in frustration. "I never intended to. It's a big shock for me, too." His shoulder slumped down. About his mother. Itachi trailed off. It was clearly the most important thing at that moment. "Don't tell me." The old woman looked at Hinata, concluding quickly yet wrongly. No. I'm sorry, but it's not me. I am not Haruto-kun's mom." Hinata waved her hands furiously. "I found Haruto-kun in front of my door weeks ago. There is only a note." "Oh. That's right." She marched to a small cabinet next to her television. "Here. I found this together with Haruto-kun." She handed the paper to Haruto's father. Obito read it carefully before Itachi snatched it from him, and then it was snatched from Itachi by Fugaku. "It's difficult to find someone only from this. Have you seen her?" Itachi asked in a serious tone. "I don't know. I didn't see her." "Do you know whose writing this is?" "It's impossible." Obito murmured slowly. "So, you do know about her?" Fugaku pressed. Isn't it better, you should bring her and..." Makoto added brightly. "But we should find her first, mother," Itachi said logically. "So, who is she? It's better to bring her here now or..." My. Fugaku, you shouldn't be so impatient," Obito's grandmother reprimanded. All of them were talking at the same time, making Haruto confused and scared of them. Hinata was torn between asking them to stop or taking Haruto from Makoto's arms, yet she wasn't sure if she was allowed. Fortunately, Sasuke was generous enough to take the baby from his mother and handed the baby to Hinata, much to her relief. Haruto was blinking his tears away, but he didn't brawl. Such a brave boy. All of his family and Hinata were so occupied that they failed to notice the bell ringing at the door. Sasuke sighed and decided to open it, yet before he could take another step, the person behind the closed door was rushing into the room, clearly knowing Hinata's passcode by heart. The guest picked Sasuke's irksome more. Hinata's uninvited guest, who knew the passcode and used it freely, was none other than the stupid and useless detective with stupid things on his stupid cheeks. "Hinata. You will be surprised of who I found. Whoops, am I disturbing you?" Hinata saw his confused look and went to him, "And no, it's nothing serious. They are Haruto-kun's family from his father's side, the Uchiha family." "Yeah, I can see that." He dipped his head as acknowledgement and the black-haired family replied in return. "It's all thanks to Sasuke-san that we can find them quickly," Hinata explained, and that made Sasuke smirked proudly. "Eat that, Dumbus." Well, that's even better since I found the little boy's mother this morning. Kiba announced loudly. Hinata gasped and she could hear the people behind her murmuring slowly. The mother? He heard Obito ask. Kiba went back to the door and back to the living room with someone following him. You are? Hinata said when she saw the woman. She was the one they met at the grocery yesterday. Rin? Obito said in a raspy voice. So you? Rin-chan, Makoto gasped. So, it's really you, nah? The grandmother nodded in agreement. She is Nahara Rin. She works as a marketing manager at N-Store. We found where she went after that day and after a long talk, she decided to come. Kiba said formally. Sorry for the wait, Hina. He grinned at the Hyuga. Hinata shook her head, it's okay, Kiba-kun. She smiled gracefully at him. And Sasuke growled. The newfound mother took Haruto away from Hinata. I miss you. I miss you, my baby. And cried. Hinata stood there rigidly and nobody said anything. Haruto was quiet and calm in his mother's arms. As a baby should in his real mother's arms. That Haruto found his real family was so touching yet so heartbreaking for Hinata. Obito raised from his seat, why didn't you tell me? He asked suddenly. Now it was Rin who went rigid, like I would. You treat me like one of your useless bitches, showing off what wasn't yours. She said flatly yet coldly. That's because I want to impress you. Impress my foot. You brought me to places I don't want to be, showing how mighty you are only to get into my pants. You don't understand. Of course I don't. Rin snapped back. We spent months together doing crazy and embarrassing things which I never wanted. Only to feed your stupid ego. Sasuke raised his brows, never heard his cousin's friend to be so harsh before. Hinata saw how Rin turned into a raging woman, so she took the baby from her quickly. Kiba had long gone away after the short introduction, knowing he was already no use after telling Hinata about Haruto's mother. My stupid ego, you enjoyed it too. Don't you dare to lie to me. Obito barked back. But then you disappeared without notice. Then he added quickly, I knew it. You use me to fulfill your dissatisfaction, right? So when your true target opens his arms, you fly right into him, huh? Obito complained darkly. Is that why you left? You used me to fill your boredom and run away when he asks you to come, right? To work, damn you. Unlike you, I work to earn my keep. I won't survive my living if I don't, unless I get some payment for whoring myself to you like your bitches. She hissed, I am not like an ungrateful bastard who likes to use people's things like his own. Ouch, that hurts. Sasuke commented, which gained a dark gaze from his father. Obito went silent. Makoto walked next to Rin and circled her arms around her shoulders as a support. I just went home for a week to find out my pregnancy. I was so happy that time. She closed her eyes and beads of tears fell quickly one after another. I came back to tell you. But then I saw you were having a very nice time with a blonde bimbo. Rin threw the fact away immediately. I thought you left me. I thought you realized I was not good enough to be with you. Obito sighed again, since we were little kids, you admire Kakashi more than you do to me. You prioritize him more than you do to me. Deep down here I know you love him more. He placed his hand on his left chest. At that time I thought you did it with me because you were refused by Kakashi. Hinata grimaced when she heard a loud smack. Rin was standing in front of Obito and her hand was clutching tightly after the hard slap. Hinata thought perhaps the new mother wasn't sure whether to give another slap or a hard punch altogether. The tall Uchiha froze on his feet, yet his expression showed how he regretted his words, while the rest of the audience tried to give as much privacy to the couple as possible, which was almost impossible in the small living room. You deserve that. Uchiha's elderly said wistfully from her seat. Itachi decided to pull Obito away before hell broke, while Makoto pulled Rin back to his arms, for everyone's sanity. Rin went back to her wrecked mood. Let's move to Sasuke's place and talk, alright? We shouldn't impose Hinata more than this, nah. I'm sorry, Hinata-chan, for involving you more than necessary. Makoto said wisely. Hinata assured that she was fine. Yugaku marched to the front door followed by Itachi who dragged Obito along. Makoto led Obito's grandmother to escort Rin, then she went to Hinata to take Haruto. Hinata looked at her uncertainty, see can I? Makoto nodded softly, so Hinata hugged the baby as tight as she could without suffocating him, then kissed the crown of his head. I will miss you. Then she kissed his cheek softly, Haruto smiled at Hinata. You naughty boy, knowing I can't forget you. I love you. She mumbled then handed over the baby to Makoto. I'm sorry, Hinata-chan. And Makoto indeed looked pained to take the baby from her. Hinata shook her head, It's okay. Haruto-kun is going to be happier with his real family now. He is as happy when he is with you, too. Makoto replied kindly. Thank you for taking care of Haruto-kun so far. We will visit you soon or you can visit us, too when everything has settled. Makoto offered. Yes. Sure. I will look forward to it, Uchiha-san. Ara. Don't need to be so formal with me, you can call me Makoto. And Hinata did. They went to the front door. Sasuke. Makoto cocked her head looking at Sasuke who stood next to Hinata. I'll help Hinata to organize Haruto's belongings. He will need them. Alright. She stepped aside. Oh, before I forget. Ask for her number because I will need it to arrange a small reunion after this. She winked. Sasuke rolled his eyes knowing his mother's real intention. Hinata cleaned up after her guests went away, and so did Sasuke. The cold tea which she served had turned warm long ago, forgotten by her guests. It was understandable, given the hectic and terrible situation. Hinata put her still full glasses into her tray, water started to drop when she moved them. She could see a thin layer of water around the glass surface and she brushed it off of it. The water slid down easily, fully disappearing from the surface. Just like Hinata's existence in Haruto's life. Chapter 6. Food. Was all Sasuke said. What? My mom bought this, but she somewhat forgot to cook it as they argued too much. He shoved a big carton bag filled with various types of vegetables, meat that was as thick as Hinata's finger and tomato, of course. But. You will help me to cook. With that he stepped into Hinata's apartment despite Hinata's protest. Sasuke-san, I am not in the mood to, Hinata said while following Sasuke to her kitchen. Where is your pan? He opened the lower cabinet. In the next cabinet. And Sasuke found it immediately. But, what do you think about stir-fry vegetables? The meat is a problem, but I think the hamburger is good enough. He murmured while gathering the ingredients in Hinata's kitchen. Sasuke-san. And I want tomato salad. He turned around and gave Hinata her apron. So start chopping now or we will have a very late dinner. Hinata gaped at him. She wasn't in the mood to talk, let alone make dinner. Her appetite had long gone and eating was the last thing she needed. Why couldn't this man understand? Sasuke was sharp as seeing Hinata's displeasure. My mother plans to ask you to come and have dinner with us, but it wasn't a good time. She wants to thank you, albeit a bit too late, so she will be very disappointed if you don't accept this. That's very nice of her, but I am not. Come on, I'm hungry and I don't want another takeout. We have complete ingredients courtesy of my mother here and you can cook so we can share. He cut Hinata's words. Hinata was astonished by Sasuke's logic. I can make something for you. And then you can leave me alone. Sure. We will eat soon as long as we work fast. Hinata sighed, I'm sorry, Sasuke-san, but I am not feeling like eating right now. Have you had your dinner? No. But. Perfect. I truly appreciate your mother's intention, but I can't accept this. She lost her words, she didn't want to be heard rude, but she wanted alone time to mope and some time to arrange her mind, perhaps. Sasuke flicked Hinata's forehead, no buts. I'm not a patient man, Hinata. Hinata touched her forehead. And I have always been an honest man. I will tell you about you refusing my mother's goodwill. He said. You wouldn't? Oh, yeah. I will. He smirked proudly. Hinata rolled her eyes, what was he? An elementary schooler? Ah, for your information, I had a long day yesterday and also today, so I deserve a decent meal. Besides, don't you owe me one for finding the baby's parents? She wanted to protest that Sasuke didn't find Haruto's parents, only his father, but she doubted he would listen. I don't cook so I don't know how to start these shits, so you have better help me. He took out the well-wrapped meat and looked at Hinata expectantly. What should I do first? Hinata blinked in disbelief but answered automatically, you can clean the meat first while I chop the onion. She gave up since it would be easier to follow Sasuke's antics than persisting to tell him to go, she decided. For the next 30 minutes, there were only chopping and utensils clinking sounds between them. Sasuke would grumble while doing his parts but kept following Hinata's instructions well. She was really good at that, giving instructions, everything was planned neatly and accordingly, nothing was left unsupervised by her. Hinata nodded in satisfaction when she found Sasuke did as she asked, typically a teacher, Sasuke mused. The dinner was pleasant although a bit awkward. Was it that bad? She asked lightly and sat next to the sofa, facing her big windows, while folding her laundry, mostly Mirai's, since Haruto wouldn't need it anymore after meeting his parents when Sasuke entered her living room after washing the dishes. The moon had risen, shining brightly in the dark sky. Sasuke sighed, he knew Hinata wasn't talking about the dinner. You don't know. I hope it's the first and last time to watch such a long drama, Liv. There's no stop or at least fast forward button to end it faster. Hinata smiled solemnly. How was it? She put another pair of tiny yellow socks to the folded pile. Nothing much changed even after long arguments and emotional jet coasters and drama at my house. Sasuke informed with a snort. I thought Makoto-san would help. Sasuke rolled his eyes, yeah, she did, but then my father started to give his opinions, too. He hovered on the armrest, then draped his arms on it. He insists, no, force them to get married as quickly as possible to reduce more damages. He put his head on the armrest while laying on his stomach on Hinata's sofa. I don't think it will change the situation, though. Obito is too idiot for his own good. My mother said it was okay. She doesn't care about our reputation, anyway. Itachi wants the ceremony to be held at one of his buildings. Obito's grandmother isn't really happy with the order, but she accepts anything they want. Sasuke kept talking and Hinata nodded here and there without saying anything essential. I don't know where it turned into chaos. My mother and father ended up having a quarrel about Obito's relationship. It was hell. In the end, my parents and I went to the cafe nearby to calm ourselves. He ended his speech and flopped down next to Hinata on the floor. I see. She pushed her laundry aside with Sasuke sitting next to her. They sat side by side, very close to feel each other's warmth yet not close enough to touch. I hope they can find a way out soon. Doubt that. They both are hotheads. It won't end well if all they do is shouting and cursing. Sasuke shrugged. And you help then? Sasuke snorted, why should I? That ass creates his own problems, so he should find the solution by himself. I ain't doing charity jobs. Hinata agreed with Sasuke. One should be responsible for his own deeds. Her father taught her that, too. It must be a long day for them. HN. Especially the young one. His mother decides to bring him with her as she and Obito didn't find any solution. They just left 30 minutes ago, followed by my family. How could they not have a solution? They love each other, don't they? Sasuke shrugged, who knows? I don't know and I don't care. They say love is a complicated thing. They went into silence. Hinata pulled a small quilt she had used as Haruto's blanket. A fluffy coral-colored quilt with soft pink sheeps printed on it. Really, it was a bit too girly for the boy, but Hinata found it suited the baby just enough, so she bought it quickly. The blanket that wouldn't be used by the baby anymore. Perhaps she should give it to Run than to feed her own selfishness to possess something once was Haruto's. How is Haruto-kun? The only question she wanted to ask since Sasuke stepped into her room. Sasuke looked at Hinata from the tip of his eyes, he is fine. Albeit a bit confused since you weren't there. But that Hinata's long-pressed feeling burst out in strong gusts. She felt a heavy spring that had been pressed for too long in her chest, finally sprung free. The way Sasuke said about Haruto made her heavy chest hurt even more. Her tears fell quickly and uncontrollably, the wet and salty fluid refused to stop even after Hinata tried to hold her breath. Unfortunately, when she lost to the need of air, the water broke even faster and then followed with a loud cry. She couldn't stop it even if she tried. I'm sorry. I was fine just now, I thought. I will. Stop. Just. Hinata hiccuped and cried more. She just couldn't stop. She needed to stop. She knew she didn't have any right to hold the baby. Yet she couldn't help but feel so empty and cold. She didn't know how cold and gloomy her life was before Haruto came into her life. Yet now he is gone, too. She was all alone. It was the same feeling she had when she lost her mother years ago. At that time she had her father, her sister, even her cousin next to her, but now. She was all alone. So empty. So cold. But then suddenly she felt warmth enveloped her. It was a very nice and calm warmth. Hinata tilted her head and saw Sasuke, who looked far ahead despite holding her tight. Sasuke-san. HN. And she cried even more. It was very nice of him to be next to her at such a time. Without giving too much or asking too much from her. They will be fine, right? She asked while holding the blanket tightly, it was already wet from her tears. I hope they will. Will love Haruto-kun. They already do. Why yes. Haruto-kun. He will remember. He remembers you, with such dumb father and a banshee mother, he must be crazy to forget about you. Hinata couldn't help but to chuckle, that's not something nice to say about a baby, Sasuke. Sasuke blinked at Hinata, HN. He has Obito as his father, so I won't keep my expectations too high if I were you. He stared blankly. Haruto-kun is a bright kid. Hinata defended. Sasuke smirked, Fortunately you influence him more than his father, so I am sure he will be fine. Hinata couldn't decide whether to scold the handsome man or to thank him for his comments, for his aid and his understanding. She decided he deserved more than just a thanks, but she murmured, arigato, Sasuke. All he did was pull Hinata more to his arms. When she was awake in the next morning, there were 3 things that bothered her. First, she couldn't feel her left arm and feet, as the second thing she realized that she was pressed between the sofa and some hard yet warm surface which made her felt hot, and the last thing was the handsome face in front of her known as Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke and Hinata spent the night talking and talking. About Hinata's late mother, her loneliness, her insecurity compared to her own sister, and her family. Sasuke listened to her while he also told her about his life, his stupid friends, his perfect brother who he couldn't beat, and his strict father. Never before she imagined Sasuke and his worries, she thought he would always be the best and had smooth sailing. I don't really care. I will surpass my brother one day and I will say eat that to his face. He admitted. I can't wait to see his face. He smirked and Hinata couldn't help but giggled between her hiccups. Sasuke was a great man. The night passed and now they were sleeping on her sofa, face to face, sleeping in the most innocent way people could describe, and Hinata found her left arm was pressed between her and his chest, bending awkwardly. She was sure she would have one hell bad cramp when she moved, but at the moment she didn't care. The position was uncomfortable yet nice at the same time. Hinata used her free hand to touch Sasuke's forehead, then the ever-present frown on his face. She touched it carefully until it was gone, and smiled. He had a really handsome face and nice skin that every girl would kill to have. Hinata touched his perfectly pointy nose, it was such a crime to have such great features for a man. You should touch more than this so I can ask for your responsibility or at least charge you with molestation when you refuse to be responsible, you know. Sasuke's voice hummed lowly. Hinata pulled her hand, sorry. I didn't mean to. It's okay. I kinda like it. Hinata gaped at him and he smiled at her. Suddenly everything seemed to be alright. Hinata didn't know how but she felt it, she knew that she would be fine and everything would be better. Was it because of her crying last night or was it because of Sasuke who stayed behind with her and shared their secrets? She didn't know. But she wanted to know. She got the sudden urge to know. She wanted to know how to live a better life. She wanted to know how to live fully just like when Naruto was still there with her. And she wanted to know about the man who understood about her even without trying. Good morning. Hinata whispered slowly. Chen. How was your sleep? Good. You? Why yeah you just my hand. I think I will have a bad cramp. Hinata blushed. It might sound cliché, but their position was just like the romance drama she had watched with her cousin's girlfriend, 1010. Sasuke chuckled, I know. I think mine will, too. Oh? Hinata blinked, why so? Because you use it as your pillow, sweetheart. Hinata yelped and sat quickly, sorry. Both of them groaned when they felt the blood circulation go back. It hurts. They groaned at the same time. Sasuke clenched his hand carefully while Hinata was doing her best to massage it thoroughly. Unfortunately, the best thing she could think of was moving around the narrow sofa not so gracefully until Sasuke hissed and yelled not so gentlemanly, knee. Hinata yelped in confusion, what about her knees? She moved around to look at her knee which ended with her shin pressed more to Sasuke and his delicate lower half. Off. Sasuke sat and moved around to dodge Hinata's unknowing movement, stop moving. We won't stop only at molestation now if you don't. He said quickly. And Hinata couldn't move even faster when she finally understood his meaning. Oof. Sasuke grunted with a loud thud after that. Shit. Sasuke. I'm so sorry. Hinata scooted down to the floor next to Sasuke who lay there helplessly. Are you okay? Hinata asked worriedly, the Uchiha covered his face with the back of his hands. I'm fine. You hurt my pride more than physically. He sat and checked his head, he grimaced when he found a sore spot. I'm sorry. Sorry. So much for daydreaming about romantic moments. It's alright. No harm done. Just don't tell the blonde idiot about it or we won't hear the end of this. Hinata nodded quickly. I understand. On second thought, don't tell anyone about this. And Hinata nodded wholeheartedly. Are you really okay, though? She asked again. Sasuke grunted, yeah. I will survive. You kinda a klutz, huh? Not really. Yeah, you are or you wouldn't move like that. Sasuke teased. Hinata blushed, I'm not. It's just you were there and didn't even have time to explain it to you at that critical moment. Sasuke finished her sentence. You at least you are a teacher so you know what I mean. If you were a Banshee manager. Sasuke trailed off. Imagining Obito and Rin in Sasuke's and Hinata's literally dangerous positions just now made them laugh. It would be a disaster. Hinata commented as a matter of fact. Sasuke smirked, she would attack him on purpose I bet. Oh. And he would be very shocked to even yell. Hinata giggled. She didn't know she would laugh so freely again after yesterday and all. Perhaps that would save us from the trouble. Sasuke snorted. But then we wouldn't meet Naruto-kun. Sasuke grumbled his agreement. Hinata went to bring small ice cubes wrapped in a handkerchief. Thank you, Sasuke. For being here with me, it means a lot to me. She said honestly while pressing it to Sasuke's head. Chen. I didn't do anything. I came for my dinner, remember? Hinata sat next to him, you are very nice, Sasuke. I'm not. You need your brain checked. He leaned on the sofa. Hinata shook her head. The one who is nice is you, I think. Naruto meets his parents all thanks to you. Sasuke assured me. Hinata shook her head again, no. It's not. I was being selfish so I tried to have Haruto-kun for myself. I even hoped that he wouldn't meet his family anymore. I'm a bad person. Sasuke shifted so he was facing Hinata then, what do I say about your meekness? He flicked Hinata's forehead again. I shouldn't because I am more than that. Hinata replied while brushing her forehead. Chan. Although I failed to see why you are so attached to someone else's baby you have just met. Naruto-kun is a very nice baby and he understands everything well just like us. He is lovable and so innocent. Hinata giggled, I think I fell in love with him at first sight. It might sound silly, but time is irrelevant when you fall in love with someone, Sasuke. Chan. Yes, although Hinata loved the baby, but he would need his mother the most, thank you for bringing him back to his family, Sasuke. Hinata bit her lips, thank you. For staying. She tilted her head and went rigid when she realized how close their faces were to each other and saw Sasuke's black charcoal eyes on her. The blank eyes were supposed to be void and plain yet the way Sasuke looked at her was entirely different. The way he looked at her made her heart beat faster, her cheek turned red, even if not because of embarrassment, and small butterflies flew in her stomach, making her giddy and excited at the same time. She watched Sasuke's eyes scan her face through his black eyes, then lowered her lips, and Hinata had to fight an urge to bite her lips. Hinata imitated Sasuke's silent observation, the same face she had seen and touched just moments ago, the new feeling she found, the urge to touch him again. She wondered how it felt to have someone next to you who would be there just for you, be a shoulder when you were tired and place to call home. For a long moment, nobody moved. Till Sasuke brushed Hinata's side bangs away and touched her jaw tenderly that Hinata thought she imagined. The blue-haired young woman held her breath when finally the man leaned over and just when their lips touched ever so slightly, they were interrupted by Hinata's phone. It was blaring loudly in the middle of a silent room. Both Sasuke and Hinata jumped and straightened themselves quickly. Hinata looked between Sasuke and her phone, and only when Sasuke indicated to her to receive it, she marched to her phone quickly and answered the phone without looking at the call ID. Good morning to Niji Niasen. Next week. I'm not sure. She replied nervously, her cheeks felt hot and she had to stop herself from fanning them. Oh okay. No. I'm okay. Really? She giggled hysterically, yes. Okay. She hummed again and then said goodbye to the caller. Sorry. It was my cousin. Hinata told Sasuke who stood next to the window and did some stretching. The overprotective one? Sasuke asked with a smirk. Hinata nodded. And silence. Which led to more awkward moments when they remembered what had just happened. The raven-haired man cleared his throat, I think it's time for me to go home. Hinata blinked, so soon? I can fetch us breakfast and… No. I don't think so. He wasn't sure whether he could keep his hands to himself being alone with the fair beauty, so he stepped to the hall leading to the door. Some coffee, then? Hinata asked while following the tall man. Thanks, but it's fine. He replied while trying to push his feet into his shoes. Hinata stood there nervously, she was sure something was formed between them. Yet she didn't want this to come only from her side. She didn't read it wrong, did she? What if Sasuke only followed the flow and it meant nothing to him? There's only one way to find out. Sasuke? Hinata said carefully. Chan? He turned around to Hinata. She tiptoed and pecked Sasuke's cheek quickly. Thank you for staying with me. Sasuke stood in her jenkin like a middle schooler who got his first kiss from his first crush. He blinked dumbfoundedly when he heard Hinata ask something. Chan? I am sorry. I shouldn't. This little girl probably thought silly things like she was crossing her line or thinking that Sasuke was mad at her. True to his thoughts, Hinata was apologizing quickly for kissing him, although it was only on his cheek and too short to be called a kiss. He had been attacked times, but they weren't just this sweet. I'm sorry for doing that. Hinata said sheepishly. How could a woman be so dense yet so enticing at the same time? Sasuke couldn't take it anymore. He pulled Hinata to his arms swiftly. This time Sasuke allowed himself for a real kiss. The kiss which was sweeter than anything he ever tasted. Sasuke hated sweets, but if it was Hinata, he would be glad to have it in daily doses, hell, he wanted to taste it every time he had a chance. Perhaps, Obito had influenced him more than he thought. Sasuke tilted Hinata's head more and Hinata practically melted in his arms. He hugged her on her waist while Hinata grasped at his shirt desperately. As they stopped, Sasuke then cradled Hinata's face and inhaled her lovely scent. You are forgiven if you allow me to do this again in the future. He murmured slowly, their foreheads touched and every time he spoke his lips brushed Hinata's. Sasuke. Uchiha Sasuke opened his dark eyes and met her pearly eyes, there were many emotions flashed in her eyes, and Sasuke wished, he really wished that she would want him just like how he so damn wanted her, too. This time it was Sasuke's phone that rang. The raven-haired man took it out and answered without moving from his position. HN. Dope. A muffled loud voice was raging. I forgot. HN. You go alone. Then followed with another long talk. Alright, I got it already. I'll be there in 30 minutes. HN. And he put his phone back in his pocket. Is everything okay? Sasuke knew Hinata worried about both the phone call and the new bond they had just formed. Always a worry wart. Sasuke hugged Hinata warmly and it felt so right. HN. Perfect. The dope is being a coward so he needs my help. Hinata giggled. He straightened himself and brought her hand to kiss her knuckles softly. I will let you know when I hear about Naruto. See you later, sweetheart. This time he said that in a serious and deep tone unlike his usual mocking tone. See you later. Hinata replied with a smile. Chapter 7. Thank you for your hard work. Nahara-rin said to her colleagues. She stepped out of her chair and walked quickly through the cubicles. Nahara-san. Rin stopped her track and smiled politely. Ah, thank you for your hard work today, Tanabe-san. Tanabe Miyano, the chief of accounting department, a tall man with brown hair and golden eyes, smiled sheepishly at her. You too, Nahara-san. He cleared his throat and stammered, whoa. Would you like to go and have a drink with me after this? That if you want, of course. Actually, Rin had already known about his subtle advances a while ago and she felt frustrated. She had to admit, he was handsome, moreover gentle and a nice man, but every time they interacted, she kept comparing him to someone else who had stolen her heart, gave her a lovely baby, yet they only got into a fight every time they met. She truly wanted to move on, living a different comfortable life, and perhaps with someone like Tanabe, but she couldn't deceive her heart. If by chance she accepted this man, he would end up always being compared to someone else. And she thought it wouldn't be fair for the man in front of him. I would love to. Rin answered, but then added quickly before he could say more, but I need to pick up my son at daycare. She informed me slowly. Miyano blinked in confusion, you have a son? He clearly didn't know since he moved to her branch after her maternity leave. Yup. Several months old. He is such a cute boy. She grinned. Hearing that made him nervous and shifted his weight on his feet awkwardly, I thought. Say hi to your husband. Perhaps we can go and drink together sometime. Rin giggled at his awkwardness, no. I'm a single mother. She had to explain to the poor guy that no, his son still had his father, and yes, she would like to go with him someday. Which she doubted after him knowing her status. They went on their own way after that. Too bad, he was a good man, but he wasn't meant for her. Yo. Obito greeted when Rin stepped out of the elevator with Naruto in her arms. He wore casual dark clothes and leaned on the wall next to her door. You are here. She sighed and fumbled around her bag to get her key. Obito took Naruto from her, Rin frowned at him but let him do as he liked. You are late today. Obito then talked to his son playfully, but the small baby didn't really perceive like he usually did. The older Uchiha frowned at the baby's behavior but followed Rin quietly. They toed off their shoes and walked through the hall to the living room. I had to buy something on my way home. The baby needs his diaper and milk. To show her point she waved her shopping bag to him. Obito grinned and apologized and promised to bring some too, which she dismissed tiredly. Well, Haru-kun. How are you today? Do you miss daddy? He asked while discarding Naruto's coat and hat. Naruto's wails were not something he expected. Whoa. What's the matter, big boy? Rocking the baby gently. Perhaps his teeth. I saw a little tooth this morning. She left for the kitchen. Obito looked at the baby, he could hear Rain open the freezer and move around the kitchen, so fast. His tone was between astonishment and disbelief. Rin went back not long later, each baby had their own treats. She gave him a small ice block wrapped in a small clean handkerchief. Give it to him. It will help to numb its pain. Obito accepted with a sigh and Naruto calmed down immediately after that although tears were still dripping. Obito drew the wipes at the table in front of him and wiped away any fluid on his son's face. He knew every single thing at her house by his heart after spending much time in the small apartment. Rin decided to go to the kitchen to prepare drinks for her guest, well, a guest who was accidentally her son's father. Rin sighed, she kinda liked how attentive Obito was to his baby, which meant he didn't hate Naruto's existence, and that was good for Naruto, since he still needed his father's figure. However, deep down in her heart, she wondered how long Obito would still come and be with Naruto before he got bored with the little baby. Just like what happened to her. Obito followed Rin to her kitchen alone. Oi, Rin. Do you think Naruto will like this? He showed a blue star pattern baby blanket on his phone. Rin glanced at it then to Obito, how's Naruto? Sleep. He dozes off soon after the ice works so I put him in his box. He grinned. Figures. The caretaker told me that Naruto is a bit fussy today and didn't take his nap. She informed me while putting the boxes of formula away. Poor kid. He will be fine, right? Rin nodded. That's good. It's bad to see him suffer that much. He nodded, then asked again, so, what about the blanket? Do you think he will like it? Rin shrugged, perhaps, but he has enough blanket already. Don't waste your money. Obito frowned, is that so? Well, I will find another thing for my baby then. Rin nodded, not so friendly. Obito kept talking from the table while she worked around the kitchen, while she murmured polite answers and didn't even try to keep the conversation going. They were playing with the fire, she knew that. And if they were not careful, they would be burnt. Giving Obito the liberty to come whenever he wanted to wasn't the best answer. They still had it, the sparks between them which turned her into some stupid woman. She felt it, she could see it from Obito's eyes and hear it from his voice. That very moment reminded Obito of his time with the small woman when they were younger and naive. They would laugh and talk about mundane things, share their dreams and go anywhere they find interesting. Watch out. Obito grabbed Rin and turned around quickly when he saw a big bottle of oil slip down from her wall cabinet and almost hit her. He groaned when the bottle hit his shoulder. What are you doing? Rin asked furiously. Saving your little neck. What do you think would have happened had I not been here? He asked but didn't let her go, not yet. Rin tried to retreat from his hug, but he didn't let go. Not yet. My shoulder is numb. Can't move yet. He said with a sigh and placed his forehead on her small shoulder. Rin frowned and patted his shoulder carefully. Does it hurt so much? She asked. As he thought, she didn't change, still a worrywart. Yeah, a little. He smiled inwardly. Although it is not as bad as when I fell down from the tree when we were school graders. Rin smiled silently at his words and she remembered it very clearly. That day was the first day they met Hada Kakashi who had just moved in. He was a smart yet aloof boy and at that time Rin had her first crush on him, just a little. Obito, who had been her friend for years, felt jealous of the new boy and challenged the white-haired boy to climb the big tree behind the schoolyard. The winner would be the leader of the class. At that time, the smart Hada Kakashi already knew that it was useless whether he won or not. But Obito could be very stubborn if he wanted to, so the quiet boy couldn't help but to accept. Rin was really angry and scared at that time when she saw her childhood friend climb the big tall tree carelessly, but he won. Rin somewhat suspected that Kakashi yielded deliberately. Obito, who had won, laughed and yelled triumphantly to her, ignoring her warning to be careful. Indeed, the young Uchiha fell down from the tree, breaking his right arms and leg, receiving long and various yells and complaints from his family. Also from Rin. Kakashi started to hang around them after seeing Obito's idiocy. Was it that bad? Rin asked calmly. Chen? Obito's hand circled around her waist automatically. Nope. Perhaps because you were there. I think I can do everything when you are with me. He replied and straightened himself to look at Rin. It was the sweetest thing he ever said to her. They stayed and stared at each other. The boy that day had turned into a fine man. A cheekish boy who she was so concerned about turned into an unfamiliar man who stole her heart away. I miss those times. Obito whispered hoarsely. I miss being with you. Rin stared at his painful gaze. Rin. He cradled her cheek and Rin melted in his arms. Obito never realized how sweet Rin tasted until today and how fitted her in his arms. Rin sighed slowly when Obito gave little pecks on her jaw and moved back to her lips. Please. He said in a small voice that she could barely hear. Yes. Please. The same voice which begged not only to her but also another woman. She couldn't get rid of the image of that night when he broke her heart. On the same bed where he spent the night with her, the black-haired male was enjoying his time with another female, as if Rin had never been there before and he didn't even remember her existence. That's why she left, giving the freedom which the Uchiha needed. She had learned her lesson that one time, therefore she would not hope much anymore. Rin stepped out of his reach quickly to lean next to the sink, afraid that she would lose her strength and fall down only from his little kisses. She should have learned her lesson. She wouldn't turn weak in front of him. No. We won't do this. She said nervously. Obito didn't move because he was sure she reciprocated his feelings but then ran away, making him confused. Rin. He tried to reach for her. No. Then she cleared her throat. I don't want this. She added, please. Rin. Can we talk about this? What do you want to talk about? Rin stood there, gripping on the edge of the table tightly, she almost got dragged back into his arms. If it's about Naruto. It's about us. You and I. Then I have nothing to talk about. Rin. I thought I had waited long enough. He stepped ahead, but Rin flinched away. Give me a chance, Rin. I want us to go back to that time. He wanted to go back at that time again. To correct what he did that night. To ask for her forgiveness. To ask her to be his once again. We tried that time and we suffered because of it. So why? We can try it once again. We have Naruto now. He is ours. Let's try it, huh? Let's be a family for real and we will be fine this time. Rin scoffed, you really don't understand, do you? You think everything is as good as before just because you want it to be. What's wrong with that? We are here together and Naruto, too. He needs his parents, his mother and father. He grabbed her hand and squeezed it softly. We don't have to be together for him to have his parents. But it's different. Visiting him only when you allow me, it is not the same. Let's do something about it, alright? I think it's enough for you to meet him that way. You are always busy anyway. She stated, and they both knew that she was right. Even before they had Haruto, he was rarely there for her, but she kept waiting patiently. For what? She didn't know. But, I'm his father. Rin pulled her hand away and snapped, and I'm his mother who carried him for 10 months. I suffer alone when I deliver him, accompanied only by a nurse and doctor. Whereas you, the father, knew about his existence last month, so you can't tell me what to do. That's because you didn't tell me. Obito started to raise his voice. Rin blinked innocently. Oh? So tell me, what would you do if I told you about him? To discard him? What about that woman? Damn it. Can't we stop talking about her, and where do you get that idea from? I would never ask you to do such things. Yeah, you are right. You wouldn't, since it would hurt your pride as an Uchiha. Just like what Uchiha Fugaku often says. Obito's shoulder sagged. No. I didn't mean it like that. I am truly sorry about that time, Rin. I shouldn't do that. That time you suddenly disappeared, so did Kakashi. I thought you had gone with him. I shouldn't. I ought to listen first. Don't do that. Don't blame anyone for what we did. Then she sighed. What is done is done. You have taught me a good lesson. She said honestly. Rin. I didn't mean that. Of course he didn't. She stepped back to the living room, avoiding Obito's gaze, and to stop herself from crying about Haruto, I shouldn't have sent him there. It's my fault, actually. You are free to go, Obito. I never intended and won't tie you with Haruto. You don't have to force yourself to stay. No. You are wrong, Rin. He grabbed her hand and tugged it softly, but Rin didn't turn around to look at him. I meant it. Every single word I said to you that day. I mean it. I'm trying, but you can't force me, Obito. Rin whispered and hugged herself. I feel betrayed, and it's not easy to forget. When I found out about the baby I was really happy, then I saw you. He knew where the talk would end, Rin. I'm so sorry. Please, forgive me. Rin shook her head. I hold nothing against you, Obito. You are too precious to me, but I don't want this, Obito. I don't want you. Obito thought she was crying, but then she exhaled and tried. Please, go. She said firmly. Rin. She turned around and met his gaze. She was determined. I need you to go, Obito. We can't talk about this now. I'm tired. I am not sure I'm ready yet. But Rin. Are you sure? The brown-haired woman shoved his jacket back to him and pushed him firmly. Go. Obito cursed himself when the door was slammed in front of him. He had done it again, saying things he didn't mean and didn't say things he really meant. He hurt her again. And he doubted she would allow him to meet the baby and give him the chance to be with her anymore. You run out of milk. You have no food and all I can find is tomatoes. Are there any edible things beside that round red thing? Obito announced from the door of Sasuke's home office. Sasuke kept typing on his keyboard and didn't even look at Obito, who stood at the door frame. So what? My house is my rule. If you're not satisfied with it, then go home, go die. I don't give a fuck. Obito blinked at him. Whoa. You sure stab like a porcupine. What's the matter, brother? He imitated Itachi's tone poorly. Sasuke threw a big book to Obito. Ouch. That hurt. What's wrong with you? Just because you can't meet your pretty neighbor, that doesn't mean you have to beat me. I give it back to you. Just because you can't meet your female, that doesn't mean you can go depressed, distressed and interfere with my place. Sasuke replied dryly. Obito appeared in front of his house at midnight, drunk like shit and begging for a place to sleep. Sasuke allowed him only because his neighbors seemed to be upset at him, and his stupid cousin promised it would be only that time. It should be enough for another man, but it was Obito, so Sasuke thought he was hoping too much. His cousin proved to be a stupid, insensitive bastard who visited him and asked for a place to sleep for a whole damn week. At first he would barge in the middle of night and disappear in the morning, and Sasuke was fine with that, but lately the stupid cousin appeared not long after the sunset, drunk and didn't leave for days, still drunk. He would cry, yowl and howl about his life or about a certain female, and sometimes both. Sasuke would have kicked the stubborn man out of his house if only the older Uchiha didn't threaten to go and search for Hinata to get a console from her. He would never let Hinata get near such a useless man, let alone let her console the ass. Sasuke himself didn't meet her often after that, and that irritated him more. Jeez. Obito walked into the room and sank down onto a big comfortable dark blue leather chair and sighed. Sasuke shifted back to his computer and left his cousin alone. The older male placed one arm on his face. Why does it have to be so difficult? I tried to help her, but I got a cold shoulder from her instead. I tried to be patient and waited, but she tried my patience. When I finally talked to her, she told me to get lost. That's because you are an ass. Sasuke answered him with a snort. Thanks, buddy. But I want to change, I will try harder. Why can't I be with her? He complained. Then he added almost listlessly, I miss my baby, Naruto. However, Sasuke didn't respond. I miss his little fists and his strong punch. You know, I got punched several times when I tried to change his diaper. Don't mention his tough feet. But it is his smile that takes my heart away. The older Uchiha said dreamily. Sasuke, who was working, hummed lowly while hiding his smile. He knew that feeling, nobody could refuse such a cute smile and innocent look, although he would never admit it openly, especially not to his idiot father. He is smart. At least he doesn't inherit your idiocy, fortunately. He knows what a bad guy you are. Sasuke smirked. Too bad, he resembles me more than what you people think. And that gained another snort from the younger male. I'm afraid too long not to be with him will make him forget about me. What will happen then? I'm his father. Why can't I meet him anytime I want to? That's because you are an ass. Hey. You've said that once before, can't you say anything else to comfort your brother? Sasuke leaned on his working chair and said dryly, he shifted his chair to face his cousin, I know one when I see it. Besides, why should I care? Your problem is not my business. If you want it to end then talk to her, woo her or do anything you seem to be right except don't do anything funny at my house anymore. He warned. Obito grinned, well, if you are that stiff, no wonder your pretty neighbor doesn't visit you often. Sasuke gave him the finger. Man, you are right. I have to do something. I won't give up until she comes back to me. Then he chuckled, she is a very stubborn, sassy and high and mighty woman. But those words were full of warmth and affection. The spiky-haired male then added softly, but I love her. I love her, Sasuke. What should I do? Sasuke rolled his eyes, telling me won't bring you anywhere. Tell her, obviously. I think you still have a little brain between your ears, but I can be wrong. Obito cursed at him. Sasuke replied frankly. Although I don't find anything on that woman or what she sees in you. You won't believe how amazing she is. Those nights were the best things that happened to me. Those lips and fingers. Also when we spent the nights and then she. Then it escalated quickly, he straightened himself. Let me tell you Sasuke-kun, women are the most difficult beings to please. You have to be precise, don't forget about their deepest needs, too. I suggest the point between her. Sasuke growled, enough is enough. Sasuke pulled his cousin out of his apartment in less than a minute. Hearing his whining and disconcerting was one thing, but hearing his cousin's yuck sex life was another thing. You better finish your problem before I start placing you on the blacklist to enter this building. He reprimanded the older man who sat dumbfoundedly on the floor. He slammed the door before opening it again, and if I ever heard you meeting Hinata even for a minute, I would love to fulfill that girl's dream to make you stop functioning biologically. And the door slammed shut. $50 for this little monkey to start climbing the tree in 2 years. Rin groaned and shook her head, oh, please no. Seeing the idiot fall down once was traumatic enough for me, let alone my little baby. I won't even allow him to climb the bed before 5, honestly. The chuckle, well. But you can't keep him protected forever. Rin narrowed her eyes, I know, but I will keep it as long as I can, and I won't let you read your dirty books either, Kakashi. Ma. It's too bad, Naruto-kun. The masked man said with a smile to the baby in his arms. Naruto was curious about the disturbing piece of cloth and tried to grab it, but Kakashi was smarter, he put the baby on his lap, far from his face. I haven't heard much from you since last year, and I was kinda surprised when I heard it from Obito. Rin shrugged, many things happened and I wasn't ready. Ah. I can see that. He held Naruto up and lifted the baby as high as he could, making the baby giggle happily. This one is his carbon copy if you ask me. Let's hope it ends there. He joked. Rin giggled, many people who knew him said so. Kakashi sighed and lowered his arms. It looks like my age is catching up with me. Can't even lift a little baby for a long time. He winced. Rin giggled from the sofa across from him, what are you talking about? You are still young and in your prime time. It's just silly and stupid, Kakashi. You might be right. Whoa, he backed away from Naruto's small hand on his mask, ready to peel it off. Definitely Obito's. He said while shaking his head in disbelief while Rin smiled, her eyes were filled with pride, though. Kakashi tried to keep the conversation light between them. When the small woman opened the door for him just now, he saw a depressed and weary face which he had never seen before. For Kakashi, Rin has always been the brightest, spiritual and happy woman, but the woman in front of him wasn't the Rin he knew. She was still Nahara Rin everyone knew, but she wasn't the one who he spent his childhood and adolescence with. Deep down in his heart, he felt guilty for keeping his distance from both her and Obito. At that time he thought it was the best option when he heard they got together. The truth was, he was jealous of them, to their close and strong connection. Although they always spent the time together, he felt he was the one who always left behind and he thought he would only be a hindrance for the new couple, therefore he slowly retreated from them. To give them some space and also for himself, more importantly. And now his hasty decision left a big discontentment and grievances in his heart. If only he didn't leave them and stay next to them. Could it be better? He didn't know, but at least he wouldn't be so distressed and frustrated. He sighed, such selfish reasoning. Perhaps, he mused, it was better this way, to grieve so he could pay for what he did for them, even only for a bit. The beetle looked so pitiful. He said suddenly. Rin, who had got Haruto back from Kakashi, raised her brows, is that so? Kakashi placed his chin on his palm, elbow propped on his knee. Well, if you can find the exact word for the man who spends his long night drunk and crying like a big baby wailing about certain brunette, I would like to know. Rin shifted her gaze to the table, not even trying to look at him. I even have to change my pillow for the 4th time in 1 week because of him. He added nonchalantly. Both of them knew how bad Obito's wailing every time he stressed about something, since it was one of them who he would visit and get comfort from. Since Rin wouldn't give any comfort he was seeking, then Kakashi was his only choice now. He is fine. It's impossible for him to suffer. It was him who left. Perhaps you can talk. We did it and I am tired of this stupid thing. I'm tired, really. Rin whispered and hugged Haruto. Kakashi leaned back to the sofa, he read her dark and sad face. He was sure Rin knew what she did and he believed she had got many people to tell her to talk to the Uchiha and it might hurt her more than they thought. Pushing her wasn't a good option. He always comes uninvited and it annoys me. If there's something I can help with. No, I need nothing. Even that means you suffer more. I'm not. I do not. He won't influence me even after this long. If only. She looked at her baby, so pure and innocent. Perhaps I'm a fool, but I can't forget his act that night. Every time I see him, it reminds me of that night. I can't erase it from my mind. I don't think I can forgive him, Kakashi. You can't or you don't want to. She looked at him, but what she saw was not a judgmental expression, but purely concern and understanding. I want to, but I don't think I have the bravery. He takes too big a part of my heart. I'm afraid he will repeat what he did that day, and when that happens, I will no longer have enough to keep me protected. Kakashi slapped his knee. It's good. Admitting it is a big step, but I agree with you. It's impossible to forgive and forget this soon. You might, perhaps in 30 or 45 years ahead. It will be very interesting to see you forgiving him in his shaking on his feet and dancing on his weak limbs. He said jokingly. Rin laughed while hugging her baby. Do you think he will wait that long? She asked warily after her laugh died down. Kakashi shrugged, who knows, he is a weirdo. He is. Rin agreed solemnly. Do you remember at that time when They spent the rest of the day talking and laughing out loud about Obito's stupidity and reminiscing about their childhood. It had been a long time since she last laughed that loud. Naruto, who was sleeping in her arms, wasn't even disturbed by their laughter. It must be because he loves his mother's laugh, he mused. Kakashi decided to go home after having dinner at her house, since he still had to work early the next day. Rin looked better than when he saw her in the morning. It meant something to him. Thank you for coming and making dinner for me. It's my pleasure. Next time I will bring beer, too. She frowned, you know I can't drink, right? Ah. But I can. She laughed, then she hugged him warmly. Thank you for coming, though. I have no one to talk to. Kakashi patted her head softly, anytime. With this single status, I'm a free soul. Rin separated herself from him and narrowed her eyes. You say that but get a hot date every day. He smiled, you are right, but too bad they can't reach my standards. No one can. No, when you use those books as your standards. She cradled his face, stop reading those books, it's not good for you. Kakashi scratched his neck awkwardly, It's difficult since they have been part of my life for a long time. Rin chuckled and shook her head, I can't believe it. She thanked him for coming once again, also, thanks for listening to me without judging me and my actions. Kakashi stretched his hands on his side. I'm not a judge, I don't even interested in cosplay to be one, so I can't do that. It's too tiresome, as one of Sasuke's friends said. She giggled. Obito is a weirdo, but he will hail the way you walk on when you give him a chance. We both have known each other for a long time. He said after a while. Rin bit her lips and lowered her gaze, why are you saying that? Is it because you are pitying me? No. Rather, I pity my pillow which receives Obito's target of frustration every night. He walked and waved at her without looking back. That night, long after Haruto had gone to sleep, Rin sat on her bed alone, looking at nothing in particular. The image of Obito's betrayed and confused expression haunted her, although she did what she thought was right, but the pain in her chest wouldn't disappear. Why would he feel betrayed if he was the one who betrayed her? Obito is a weirdo, but he will hail the way you walk when you give him a chance. We both have known each other for a long time. I love you. I love you, Rin. Then, it dawned on her. She didn't want Obito, she needed him. Sasuke. Sasuke brushed a small hand while patting his cheek awkwardly. Sasuke. Again the calling and patting. Sasuke grumbled and blinked away his sleepiness to find a mini Obito on his bed next to him, smiling brightly. What the hell? He groaned. Serve you right for putting strange things in your mouth. He chuckled half asleep, then covered his head with a pillow. Ah. Leave me alone. I've got my peace back this last week and now you want to disturb my peacefulness again, huh? His voice was muffled by his soft pillow. Ah. The small yet strong palm slapped right to his naked stomach. Sasuke yelped and sat right away, what the fuck? He blinked at the small baby next to him in confusion. Ah. The small baby stretched out his hands, a small letter attached to his right leg. Then he heard a burst of laughter from the floor, don't tell me. Sasuke stared at Obito who was laughing his shit off on the floor. Oh. Hell. Even Sasuke can talk in his sleep. Hilarious. Damn. Shut it, Obito. He threw it to his cousin. What are you doing here? And what about this baby? Naruto-kun tells me he wants to meet you. The stupid new father grinned. Enough with your shit and I know it's not. Sasuke yawned and messed the baby's hair casually. Obito stuck out his tongue and knocked his knuckles on his head while sitting on the floor. You got me, teehee. Naruto laughed at his silly pose, but Sasuke was not impressed. Obito cleared his throat, actually I have a very urgent business, but I can't bring Naruto-kun with me, so we decided to bring him here and ask for your help. No. What? Why Sasuke-kun? Help me this one time, ni? He pouted. I have helped you enough. Bring him with you and get lost. Obito stuck up his lips and mumbled, but I can't, though. The environment won't be good to him. I believe your house is sufficient enough for handling both your business and this little boy. He picked Naruto up at the back, his thick collar the baby dangling and kicking happily to be handed back to his father. But you see. I'm not talking about doing my job here. He inched little by little out of Sasuke's bedroom. What do you mean? The younger male felt uneasy. It's a date. I have a date with Rin today, so I can't bring Naruto-kun with me. I'm sorry, I'll be back before midnight, bye. He explained quickly and disappeared through his door even quicker. But the come back here you bastard. Sasuke tried to stop him, but it was fruitless since the older man was swift and Sasuke couldn't possibly catch him only on his boxers and little baby in his arms. Damn it. Sasuke ran back to his room with Naruto in his arms obviously. He moved around his room to collect shirt, trousers and his sock, then donned it as fast as he could, damn it. Damn you, Obito. He muttered while moving around. Inside his head was filled with many methods of revenge which the older man deserved and Sasuke would be glad to fulfill. Naruto laughed when he saw the older Uchiha antics. Sasuke stopped his track, you think it's funny, huh? He poked the baby's forehead softly. Let's see if you can still laugh when you are in my position in the future. Sasuke took Naruto and tried to call the baby's father but was switched to the mailbox. Damn it. What should I do now? He looked at the baby and Naruto stared back at him innocently. Sasuke contemplated his option, Naruto and Sakura perhaps were busy so no, his brother was busy too and although Sasuke himself was free at that time, he wasn't sure he could handle a baby. There was still Hinata. I'll bring you to my mother. She will be delighted. He murmured and went to grab his wallet before stepping out of his apartment. However, when he opened the door he saw an angel. No. He must be dreaming since it was so unreal. Sasuke? She asked softly when he didn't move or talk for a whole minute even though Naruto was moving vigorously in his arms to reach for her. Hinata. He breathed. She giggled, Rin-san called me just now and asked me to help you guys, is that okay? Sasuke just nodded dumbfoundedly. That's great. I miss Naruto-kun so much. She stretched her hand to take Naruto and Sasuke let her have the baby. Her soft fingers brushed on his lower arms and Sasuke felt his heart skip a beat. He wanted to ask her whether she missed him, too. Sasuke. Yours or mine? Hinata called him again. What was she talking about? I want to stay with Naruto-kun. She added softly with a blush, with you too. She looked at him, so I wondered where to. Sasuke opened his door wider, come in. Hinata nodded shyly and allowed herself to his house. Obito's execution would be halted for a moment. Besides, sending his new time-consuming project seemed to be too easy for the bastard. Chapter 8. I hope you don't mind me as your company. Hinata said as she sat down on one of Sasuke's sofas with Naruto in her arms. Sasuke had walked back from his room to put the baby's bag back there. Not at all. It's way better than that moron, I mean his father. Sasuke cocked his head to the baby and when Naruto saw that he giggled. Were you planning to go somewhere before I came? Hinata blinked in confusion. Sasuke sighed in embarrassment, actually, I don't know how to handle that little monkey, so I opted to send him to my mother's house. Oh, how clueless of me. I shall go home, I think. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Your mother will be delighted to meet him. Hinata stood suddenly and ready to hand Naruto back to Sasuke. Sasuke stood to stop her, I discarded that idea since you are here, there's always next time for her. Besides, you must be missing him, I suppose. He ended with a shrug. Knowing Sasuke was telling the truth, Hinata smiled shyly, that's very nice of you. I promise I won't disturb you today. Sasuke nodded, your presence has never been a disturbance for me. There was a long silence between them after that because Hinata didn't know how to reply. The black-haired male then disappeared to his room and back with Naruto's baby bed set, the blue baby bed, a dark blue blanket, a cute blue pillow from the big bag Obito left that morning, when he saw the baby yawned. Sorry, I need to take this call. He handed out Naruto's items to Hinata when his phone suddenly rang. Hinata nodded knowingly, then arranged Naruto's sleeping instruments on the sofa. I sent it last night, didn't you read it already? Sasuke replied to someone on the phone, he scratched his head in frustration and sighed. It's not my fault if you lost them. I have told you times. His voice disappeared together with him to his office room. Hinata shifted her attention to the baby who was laying on his back on the comfy makeshift bed. My sweet angel is sleepy, huh? Sasuke emerged from his room half an hour later. He then went to his kitchen. I'm sorry about the delay, the dope lost his file and apparently he just misplaced it. He came back with a pitcher of cold lemonade and 2 empty glasses, he informed me honestly. Hinata looked up from her papers on the table. She had moved and sat on the floor with papers scattered around the table and floor. She smiled sheepishly, I'm sorry, too. I use your table without your permission. You are free to use anything you want here. He sat on the floor across from her with a table filled with papers between them. The tray was placed on the floor next to him. Are they the famous students' test papers? Sasuke took one paper. He frowned when he saw messy scribbles and unreadable words on the paper. Yes, although it's more likely a mock test paper. I find it's easier for them to work on small tests before the real one. I am impressed that you can read whatever is written here. He placed the paper back. And I don't remember any teacher who did the same at my time. All they did was throw tons of notes and long hours working on their homework. He commented as he poured the drink for his guest and himself. Not all teachers are the same. There's a teacher at my school who loves to tell the students to move their body more so their brain works better. She murmured her gratitude to Sasuke when he stretched his hand to give her the drink. Sasuke tsk'd, such a hassle method. Hinata giggled after a sip of her drink, but it worked. Are they annoying? He asked for the paper, indicating the students. Hinata shook her head, she placed her glass on the tray gracefully, no, they are not. They are the sweetest things I have ever met. Sasuke snorted, I can't imagine how come a bunch of snotty brats being sweet. I bet most teachers will have a bad headache at the very end of the day, every single day. He commented while placing his chin on his hand on the table. Well, they would if you were their student. Hinata murmured teasingly. Sasuke raised his brows, what do you say? You might not believe it, but I was the most brilliant student at that time. The dope is the live evidence. That piqued Hinata's interest. Why is that? Sasuke smirked, do you think a dope like him could graduate with that small pea of brain? He couldn't be that bad. Hinata replied softly. Trust me, he was, is that bad. The only thing that keeps him working is his love for his job. And your help. HN. There's nothing left of him except his loud and boisterous nature. Although Sakura helps too sometimes, having her and the dope together never ends well. He snorted again, I remember one time we were at a cafe near our school, there should be a final test on the next week, so we were studying or I was dragged with them, since Sakura tried to coax the dope to study to be exact, but in the middle of study session, they fought about the most unimportant thing I had ever heard. In the end, we were banned from entering the cafe after that. Sakura. Ah, that pretty lady with her pink hair. Hinata ignored the small stabs in her heart when she heard about the woman from Sasuke. I still have the dope's pictures from that time. Sasuke said with a chuckle when he ended his story about Naruto's clumsiness at their last school festival. To prove his point he crawled to the cabinet under the big smart TV on the wall on his right and placed a mini photos album on the table, here. You see, he was all red thanks to the paint poured on him accidentally when he tried to prove that the paint we use was washable, which was totally wrong. He pointed to a photo on the upper side, there was indeed a very red boy in his teens, which Hinata identified as the same person she met with the pink-haired lady that day. In the photo was the literally red boy, from head to his torso at least, with Sasuke on his left who looked unamused and their girlfriend on the blonde right who looked tired or was too used to such ridiculous situations and didn't want to be involved in them. The blonde himself looked happy and proud despite his condition. Such a high-spirited young boy. Another thing she noticed as she looked at the pictures was the number of girls who were glancing, openly staring or touching the raven-haired male in each picture. There was no doubt about Sasuke's popularity at that time, there was something special about Sasuke, his eyes, his pointed nose and his stubborn stoic face. All of them were merging into a great visual which one wouldn't have ever tired of. She wondered what kind of high school he had, what kind of subjects he loved that time, and who was he interested in at that time. Was it one of his friends? The red-haired one who wore some classic glasses? The girly blonde in one of the pictures? Or was it Sakura? They were all in the past and it shouldn't bother her, but she couldn't help it. Although Sasuke openly said he was interested in Hinata, but with that many pretty girls around him she became doubtful. For him and for herself. It's quite boring when we talk about my life. Sasuke took Hinata's quietness as boredom. How about yours? Was there someone to compare with the dope? Hinata smiled, I don't think my school life is as interesting as yours. She took out her wallet and pulled out several pictures from it. I used to live in a small village with my family until I graduated from my high school. She pointed to the picture on the top of the stack, this is my father, my mother and my sister. Hinata was standing in the middle with her white kimono, which was similar to her parents and short blue hair, she stood between her father and mother. Her father was a man with stern gaze, her mother was a soft and fragile-looking woman with the familiar blue hair, and there was a baby in her arms. She brought the first picture aside and pointed to her sister in the second picture, it's my sister on her 5th birthday. She smiled solemnly. There were only 3 of you? He commented. Hinata nodded, she swallowed nervously. My mother passed away 2 months after the first picture was taken. Ah. I see. I'm sorry to hear that. He replied in a soft tone. Me, too. I miss her sometimes. She was the most perfect mother I could ever wish for. My mom was a teacher before she married my father. She had like thousands of books at our house and she loved to read them for me. Is that why you became a teacher? Hinata blushed, yeah, it's kin to my reason. I like children, too. I think with working as a teacher I can continue her dream. It's silly, isn't it? Sasuke then whispered, can you keep a secret? He continued when he saw Hinata blinking innocently. I wanted to be a football player until I was in high school. He smirked when Hinata blinked again in confusion. Huh? She clearly didn't see why he wanted to keep it a secret. It was a cute dream. At first I joined because of the dope, but I found it interesting. My school was the best in town, we had nice teamwork and all. However, after my second inter-high match, I found it unappealing. I played because I liked it, but the crowd was killing me. I hate the crowd and somewhat developed a crazy anxiety disorder. I turned into someone who was bitter and distant. Apparently, my love for the sport was defeated by my hate of it. I turned to hate that sport and decided to leave. I'm sorry to hear that. I bet you were really great at it. When he said about the crowd she believed it was the girls, his fangirls. From her experience with her cousin, it wasn't a pleasant experience. Even her ever so cold cousin had a severe headache every Valentine time had come. Sasuke must have experienced the same if not worse. Therefore, Hinata, it was so damn awesome for you to be able to stick with your dream. You don't know how much it meant to the kids. Sasuke commented in his serious and certain tone. Thank you. She bit her lips before reckoning, don't you miss playing football? HN? He hummed lowly, then shrugged, sometimes. He didn't want to admit it, but he did, sometimes. He had never talked about this to anyone, not Naruto, his mother or even Itachi. All they knew was he was dragged by Naruto and stayed just because the blonde begged him to. Nobody knew that he actually enjoyed playing that sport. He didn't know why he told her, but he was sure she wasn't someone who would laugh about his dream, and he was right. Then you shall play it again, not as professional, but as your hobby, perhaps. It's such a sad thing to leave something you love. Ah. Then what do you suggest? He leaned over. Hinata blushed under his gaze, There is a club in my school. I can introduce you. And you can come and teach or play together with them. But I am not a teacher, let alone a professional player, Hinata. I doubt your school will allow it. Hinata lowered her gaze and looked like a kicked puppy. You are right. Sasuke cleared his throat, well. Don't worry about it. I occasionally play with Obito and the dope in my spare times. If it can ease your worry, perhaps we should arrange some informal sessions on next summer break. Who could say no to such puppy eyes? Hinata blushed again. That would be nice, but promise me that we will have one, only when you have time. Sasuke nodded, satisfied. Sasuke asked Hinata to continue her story about her pictures. He was so eager to know about her life, her school, her family, her hobby, however trivial it was, he wanted to know. In the third picture was Hinata, her sister and a new boy who looked slightly older than Hinata. He was her older cousin who lost his parents in an accident when Hinata was 10 years old. Hinata's father decided to adopt him to his family and he became Hinata and her sister's older brother. Hinata smiled when she told Sasuke how protective her cousin was. Sasuke wondered how her cousin would approach his beautiful cousin. He hoped the man took it well, which he doubted it wholeheartedly. The next picture made him frown. It was a picture of Hinata between two teenage boys, one was the one who brought Rin to Hinata's apartment that day and the other one was unfamiliar to him. "This is Kiba-kun," she pointed to a teenage boy who had the red triangle on his cheek, "You have met him." She told him and Sasuke nodded. "This is Shino-kun." She pointed to a stoic-looking boy with dark round glasses. "They are my childhood friends and best friends. They helped me greatly since I was a small awkward girl. They are always there to help me and keep me moving on." Great, after a protective cousin and now protective childhood friends. Still, Sasuke was relieved that Hinata was surrounded by family and friends who loved her and protected her. God knows how cruel the world could be, and Hinata was the last who had to experience it. Kiba-kun works as a policeman, I think you know about it already, right? Shino-kun works at his family dojo. They are very talented, one time they caught a pervert near our school and got an award for that. They are willing to do everything to help others. HN. They must be good friends. Sasuke said and even himself could taste a bitter taste of jealousy in it. Hinata clearly felt it and she blushed furiously. Why yes, they are. Kiba-kun was the one who encouraged me to move here and Shino-kun was the one who introduced me to my colleague from my workplace. Sasuke nodded, it's nice of them. Hinata stammered her agreement. After that they fell into silence, Hinata went back to scoring while Sasuke went to refill his pitcher. The weather outside was getting hotter with a clear blue sky, cicada singing and humid air, although they didn't feel it in the slightest thanks to Sasuke's great and mighty air conditioner. Sasuke put another glass on the now clear paper table in front of her, "So. How can you know about Haruto's visitation today?" he asked finally after hours. Well. 1 week prior she got a surprise call from Nahara-rin. "I had planned to invite you but didn't have your number, fortunately Mikoto-san has it. I'm sorry to invite you this sudden." Rin grimaced a little. Hinata shook her head, "It's okay. I'm free on weekends anyway. Thank you for inviting me, Nahara-san." "Ma. Just call me Rin or perhaps disappointment mother as I left my boy alone." She smiled sadly. Hinata pulled the empty chair across from her. Their meeting point, a cozy cafe, was not that loud since it was past lunchtime. "You are awesome, Rin-san. Haruto can be such a sweet boy since he has an awesome mother, so nobody can say you are a disappointment." Her gaze filled with determination as she placed her hand on the older woman's. Rin laughed, "You are a nice girl, Hinata." They ordered food then fell into a comfortable discussion, "Where is Haruto-kun?" "But Obito's grandmother. She misses the baby so much so I leave him there. She is still Haruto's great-grandmother and I can't possibly let the kind woman down." She sipped her tea and sighed. "I see." Hinata was a bit sad that she couldn't meet the baby. "I'm sorry for not bringing him today, but Obito's grandmother has been asking me, but I never visit her on weekdays and I think our conversation will last a bit too long for his liking. I'll bring him in the future, I promise." Rin assured after seeing the gloomy face of her guest. Hinata smiled and nodded, "Yes, thank you, Rin-san." Rin waved her hand, "No. No. It's my gratitude and also my apology to you. I heard it, you know." She touched the rim of her glass softly. "I heard from Mikoto-san that you didn't give up and protect Haruto, although he is not your family, not even a relative, and although it was difficult. Comparing myself to you. I am such a failure." She sighed, her shoulders slumped. "Rin-san, it's okay to make a mistake." "You're wrong, Hinata. I make mistakes. I fell in love with someone who can't keep his promises. I let him do whatever he wished without thinking about the consequences and now I have a baby that I have come to love so much." "Haruto-kun is not a mistake," Hinata said firmly in her soft voice. Rin blinked at her then laughed, "You are right. He definitely is not a mistake. Rather, he is a miracle that happens to me." Hinata nodded. "I'm sure you have things you wanted to tell me or scold me, perhaps. I don't have a right to scold but I want to know why you left Haruto-kun there that day." Rin lowered her gaze, "It's because I was desperate. He kept reminding me about Obito. Sometimes, when you love someone, this feeling turns into a curse. It weighs so much. Before Haruto was born, I constantly changed my decision to tell Obito or not to tell him. In the end, my pride won over me. I was too proud to let him know that I love him. But I messed up by putting him on your door, nah." She smiled sadly. Hinata kept her silence. "When Haruto was born, I was there alone. I fought for the baby and myself. It didn't hit me that time, but when we were left alone at my home, some dark ugly thinking kept coming back. The image of his happy shining life to my dark and failing life. It's kinda unfair. Why does he have to be that happy whereas I suffer alone?" Rin sighed slowly, I'm the worst. I left my baby alone without caring for his safety. I didn't even check first whether I put him in the right place, as long as I can get rid of the burden. She sniffed, I'm the worst mother. I even thought of my own baby as a burden. Hinata grabbed Rin's slightly darker hands and held it tightly. You gotta do what you've got to do. Although, perhaps, it's more unfair for Haruto-kun. He needs his parents, his family and we, as adults, failed him. I'm so sorry Hinata. I have put you in the spotlight and turned your world upside down. Hinata shook her head, no. It's quite the opposite, I love having Haruto-kun with me. He is the sweetest thing I have ever found so far. And that made the young mother smile proudly. So? How can that be related to my question? Sasuke's voice brought her back to the present time. Hinata giggled. We had a long nice chat that day, and I promised to help her with Haruto-kun whenever she needed it when we exchanged numbers. Sasuke looked at her skeptically, doesn't mean it has to be this soon, does it? I'm glad it's this soon since I believe Rin-san still loves Obito-san even after all that has happened. Besides, I can meet Haruto-kun with this, nah. She glanced at the sleeping baby and rearranged the still intact fluffy blanket. Sasuke leaned back, they unquestionably are the most annoying and irritating couple. I can still hear Obito's stupid nagging about that woman at this moment, I won't be surprised if she does the same. He snorted. Hinata bit her lips, her conversation with Haruto's mother wasn't solely about Obito and the baby. There was also a time when the older woman asked Hinata about her and Sasuke's relationship, or at least their acquaintanceship so far. We haven't seen each other recently actually. Hinata shook her head and smiled politely when Rin asked about her and Sasuke. Eh? Is that so? I thought you guys have a thing or two now. We are. Actually, Rin-san, I want to ask something or perhaps I need a suggestion, I think. Rin nodded, sure. Go ahead. Hinata inhaled and exhaled. Actually there is a friend of mine. A friend? Alright. Rin snickered. Hinata grabbed her cup tighter, she is getting close to someone recently. He is a fine man. Is he handsome? Hinata blushed, why yes. Totally. Well, tell your friend to be careful around handsome men, since they tend to be players. Especially the dark-haired one. She replied with her chin propped on her bent arm. Well, he was perhaps one of that, but because of one circumstance my friend and that man got closer. And they. She remembered the kiss they shared that day. They. Kissed. They kissed? Rin-san asked back. Why yeah. Somewhat. She didn't really remember the exact situation since she was too overwhelmed by his touch, his smell and his smile. It was the most handsome face he ever showed her. So, did they kiss or did they not kiss? Kiss. They kissed that day. She said nervously, and Rin's whistle added another pound of nervousness to her heart. She can feel it from his touch and his tone. But my friend is scared. Because he is a player? Hinata shook her head, no. Because it's too fast, don't you think they need space and time to think? What if his intention was purely because of curiosity? What if the vibe was because of the unavoidable circumstances? What if he gets bored when he knows her further? You are scared that it is only a fling for Sasuke, therefore you run away, aren't you? Hinata gasped at her bullseye. Yes. She finally answered. There was no need to cover her speech if both of them knew exactly what or who they were talking about. Inside, man. What pure love. I can see it written clearly on your face. It's totally pure. Pure love. She whistled again. Hinata couldn't help but to cover her blushing face with her hands. Rin-san. She whined. Alright. Alright. It's a wonder that he keeps his distance to you, a point for him actually, since if it was Obito, he would have barged into your room, consumed all of your time and your foods, hogged all your things, and the last thing you realize was how bad and far you are involved with him already. Hinata couldn't help but to giggle at Rin's explanation. Rin insisted that it was true, though. Nevertheless, Sasuke is different from Obito. He knows what he wants like Obito, but he is a conscientious man. He knows what he really wants and respects your needs, too. Otherwise you'll be in a foreign country with a new surname already, I bet. Still. I get what you mean completely. As a rational woman who used to do everything based on your rational mind, it's kinda difficult to equalize and match our head to our heart. Only, when it comes to heart, any rationality is thrown out of the window. Rin grinned, believe in me, I have this problem, too, only mine has produced a new life. Hinata. Rin said softly, Sasuke is not a good talker, nor an extrovert like Obito. Sasuke never does anything he thinks is worthless to his time. Hinata stammered her agreement. Sasuke is a nice guy with a handsome face, you have to admit that. He also hates to play with people's hearts like someone we know, or so I thought. She added when she saw Hinata's disturbed expression, don't worry. I am not interested in that totem pole. No. I don't. Geez. It's written clearly on your face, you know. Rin snickered again. I know Sasuke quite well because I spent all my childhood time with his cousin, Obito, the one and only man who has ever barged into my life, my heart unconsciously. She ended her words solemnly. Rin ordered another slice of cheesecake then kept talking. Sasuke is a brat who likes to enjoy Obito's stupidity and uses sarcasm to bring Obito's mind down, although it doesn't work at all. Obito is just too dense. That young Uchiha used to be a sarcastic boy with a cold demeanor in the past, though. He was a bit different when I last met him. Thanks to someone, perhaps. She grinned. But. What if? Well, what you guys have might be because of the situation, the atmosphere or only because of his needs of responsibility. You can assume however you like but remember this, Hinata. Obito and I ended up in such a situation because we assume, especially the bad things, too much. This boy is really Obito's son. Sasuke commented lightly in the kitchen with Naruto in his arms. The baby was crying and wriggling in his arms while Hinata was preparing his food. Rin-san told me he was teething, it's understandable that the baby was being fussy. She shook the lukewarm bottle and ready to take over the baby. Sasuke took the bottle, I can do it. And went back to the living room while the baby was busy sucking his milk. Hinata smiled at Sasuke's back. He looked so natural in handing the baby. The Hyuga continued her work washing the dishes after their lunch. Sasuke told her to leave them alone, but she insisted to help. Sasuke relented in the end. She knew Sasuke missed little Naruto as she did too. Hinata always had a thing for a man who loved babies, kids or children in general. Was it because of her occupation or her big family where the patriarch was always involved in raising their children? She didn't know. She knew that Sasuke, behind his cold and prickly demeanor, was a great man. Why did that particular Uchiha have such a high value in her eyes? Was she blinded by her feelings? Hinata. The long-haired woman was startled, she was much too deep in her mind. Hi. Your phone. It's ringing. Sasuke stretched his hand out showing her ringing phone, another one was cradling the baby and using his own perfect chin to hold the bottle for the baby. Hinata wanted to squeal at the cute view. Naruto was busy drinking his milk with Sasuke trying to hold the bottle under his chin and Hinata's phone in his hand. Hinata? He asked again with a frown on his face. Oh, hi. She dried her hands and took her phone. It's my cousin. She informed me after a quick glance at the phone. HN. And Sasuke left her for her privacy. Good afternoon, Niji Niasen. After a short slide on her phone. Actually, it's me, Tenten. Niji is driving at the moment, so I am delegated with this important task. A woman said happily. Tenten-san. It's nice to hear from you. She replied. Yeah, I know. Nobody can break free from my charm. Tenten laughed and then Hinata heard a much deeper voice saying something she couldn't catch. I know. I know. Geez. She heard Tenten replied from the phone. Actually, Niji and I are on our date. Another long sentence from the person next to the brunette, watch out. Oh. Drive safely, please. Well, Hinata already knows about it anyway. Tenten rebutted. Anyway, since we are free today, we are planning to visit your place, Hinata. Niji never says it, but I know he misses you, just like me. Tenten added happily. Then a warning, Tenten. Hinata giggled when she heard a clearer and annoyed tone of her cousin. So, what do you say? Tenten asked again. Hinata glanced toward the living room, Sasuke was facing the window with the baby in his arms. That's nice. But, today is a bit. Oh. You have a date too, don't you? The older female teased. Suddenly, her cousin was talking in a louder tone, Hinata caught only part of them, meat, not good, talking. Tenten then cut him, oh, for God's sake. Hinata is an adult now. She can decide who to date. It's so embarrassing to talk about that at someone else's house. I am not dating anyone. Hinata replied softly, but the older woman didn't hear. Anyway, we are available till this evening before going back to our hometown. Call me if you change your mind or you have finished your business there. She said with a scandalous tone. Perhaps we can have a double date then. Niji decided to add, Hinata-sama, don't but unfortunately, the call was cut by Tenten immediately. Hinata sighed. What's wrong? Sasuke asked when Hinata appeared in the living room. My cousin and his girlfriend are in town at this moment. She asked me to join them. Perhaps you should go. Hinata shook her head, no. I already promised Rin-san to watch over Naruto-kun. It's fine. I can do it. If I need something, I can call the Dobra my mother. Sasuke replied. Hinata ducked down, wringing her hands, no. I mean. My cousin and Tenten, his girlfriend, are always busy. It's a rare chance for them to meet. Besides, I prefer it here. With Naruto-kun and you. She murmured lowly, face as red as tomato. HN. Sasuke smirked but said nothing. They went to the couch, Sasuke turned on the TV to fill the silence. Hinata didn't know where to stare. It would be embarrassing to look at the handsome man. She was too distracted to watch the TV, so she decided to look at the baby instead. However, the quiet session didn't stay long. Soon after the bottle left his small mouth, the dark-haired baby started to cry. Hinata took the baby from Sasuke and tried to calm him down. The wailing didn't stop despite the calm soft voice. "Is it his diaper?" Sasuke asked. Hinata smelled nothing from the baby. "Perhaps an upset stomach or something," she replied while bringing the baby around the room slowly. It was the longest 2 hours in their life. They carried, cradled, changed the diaper and fed the baby to no avail. "It's strange," Sasuke explained through the phone to his fellow friend, Sakura. "We tried everything but he kept crying." Hinata took out the ear thermometer from the baby. "It's 37.5 degrees," she announced and Sasuke told his friend immediately. "HN. Alright. Okay." And he disconnected the phone. "It's perhaps his teeth. Sakura says that sometimes it can cause an irritation or pain to the baby. His temperature might be caused by his long wailing," Sasuke explained with a sigh. "What should we do?" Hinata asked. She wiped away sweats and tears from the baby's face. "Let's bring him to Sakura. She should know what to do." Sasuke went to his room. Hinata went to prepare Haruto's belongings. She worried about the baby since it's unusual for the little one to cry that long. It might be something wrong and she hopes they weren't too late. "Let's go, then." Sasuke held Haruto's bag while Hinata followed behind with the now sniffling baby. "Obito." Sasuke blurted out his cousin's name when he saw the man with a gloomy face in front of his door. "Rin-san." Hinata murmured softly to the woman behind Obito. Unlike Obito, Rin could maintain her expression well. "Hi, Hinata-chan." Rin smiled. It was unusual for them to be so silent. "What's wrong?" Sasuke asked straightforwardly. "Well, can we get in first?" "Come in, then." Sasuke gestured for them to enter his apartment. They moved to the living room. Rin took Haruto from Hinata and she snuggled with the now calm baby. She inhaled the baby's calming smell and smiled at Hinata. "Is there something wrong, Rin-san?" Hinata asked when she lost his patience. She wasn't someone who enjoyed suspense or mystery so much. "Well, Rin glanced at Obito who sat on the sofa with Sasuke standing 3 feet away from the older man. "We decided to get married," Obito informed me kindly. Hinata gasped loudly while Sasuke only raised his brows. That definitely was a surprise. "That's good news. Congratulations to both of you," Hinata said and smiled happily. Sasuke nodded but asked in his flat tone, "But what about these gloomy faces?" "I want to hold it this autumn, but Rin prefers spring next year." "Why do we have to wait for that long?" he asked. No one in particular. Rin sighed. "I told you, times. My work can't accommodate your plan. I have a packed schedule until winter and have more free time after Christmas." "You can resign," Obito replied as it was the most reasonable thing to do. "And what? You expect me to eat shit?" Hinata frowned at her words. "I can provide you and Haruto. I have my own place and stable job, just move in with me. We are practically a family now." He straightened while explaining to her. Obito's words came quickly as if he had said it over and over to Rin. "I can provide myself well, Obito. Why can't we wait? It's better in spring, we can have the ceremony outside and at that time Haruto would be older and easier to handle." Rin sighed. "But I want it sooner. People will talk about it if we delay it longer." "They will talk no matter what the circumstances. Why so hurried?" Rin narrowed her eyes. Don't tell me you're worried that you'll lose your player image to an irresponsible guy that your other women know, Rin." Obito roared. He lost his patience with the woman. "What? I'm right, aren't I? If you're not then why so hurried?" Haruto cried in her mother's arms. "Don't yell, please." Haruto-kun is scared. Hinata was upset, worried about the baby and confused altogether. Why did the two always end up fighting every time they tried to talk? It was beyond her imagination. Still, she needed to do something. She wanted to do something, but the situation didn't allow her to. Sasuke took over the baby swiftly. He pushed the stubborn parents to his home office. "Sasuke?" Obito asked in confusion. "Finish the shit between you guys whatever it is before you start yelling in front of the baby or I'll disjoint any limbs of yours, chop it to pieces and throw it away like a good garbage you are." He then added darkly, "You may not leave this house unless you have resolved your stupid shit. Yelling, cursing, killing each other, I don't give a shit." He slammed the door shut in front of their face and locked it immediately. "Sasuke?" Hinata stammered when she saw Sasuke took Haruto's belongings, her bag and his wallet and pulled her out of his apartment. "Let's go, I can't stand their shit. We'll come back later and hopefully they have reflected on their actions." He led them to the elevator. Haruto now was snuggling to Hinata but didn't cry. "Where are we going?" she asked as the elevator descended smoothly. "HN." Cafe or restaurant nearby. As long as it's cool and safe for the baby. He shrugged. Hinata nodded in satisfaction, at least Sasuke wasn't unreasonable and lost his thinking after his outburst. He cared about Naruto, and Hinata felt her heart flutter, melt and squeezed all at the same time. They arrived at the first floor with a low ding from the elevator. They stepped out of it and heard a woman gasp in the low baritone of Hinata-sama. Hinata was surprised by his cousin and his girlfriend's appearance. Niji Niasen. What are you doing here? I have the same question for you, Hinata-sama. What are you doing here with a man and a baby? Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoy it. Turn on that bell notification. Like, subscribe and comment down below. And also check out the other videos I have created and enjoyed it. See you guys next video.